Steve's muted. Says no council there. I better line through
I can hear you though.
this. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, so be careful what you say about me.
All good, mate. No worries.
That's good. I was wondering whether we were on the right track with all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first meeting of the Third Council of Snorri Valleys Council. We'll start today with the public forum. We have Christine McKay and Chris Harris. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. We've been asked to speak to the council through General Manager Steve Pinnock. I'll just read this out as I go. To be heard about a situation in McGinnity Park across the road from our hotel in Tooma. Chris and I, we are the owner-operators of the hotel. And so there have been a lot of stories over the years about the zoning of the park, and we've spoken to different people, heard different people. So we actually found a copy of a Snowy website stating about Tooma, talks about the park, talks about Brigham House, talks about the hotel, and it states camping is behind the hotel and across the road. So I did take it upon myself, and I removed some bollards over there and opened the park up for camping at around Christmas time last year. And our neighbour next door in Brigham House got very annoyed about it. He said he didn't want camping there at all. So we both agreed to talk to council about it. Anyway, meanwhile, until council come back to us, he next door spoke to the council, and we got a contact. We had a visit from the ranger, Rodney Bartel, and stating there's no camp to be in the park. He had no official documentation about it, but we did know who to actually contact, and he gave us the contact name of the outgoing mayor, Ian Chaffey. So we contacted him, and he was all for camping. Yep, great idea. Just put in an email what you wanted, and we asked him would he come out and have a look and bring someone from tourism out to it, because this is all about tourism. It will help our business. It will help Brigham House next door. But anyway, we wouldn't have done anything like this if we didn't have any sort of facts. And having this copy of this website, we have newspaper cuttings stating from tourism is supported in the local area. And then we contacted local police, and they thought it was a great idea as a fatigue place for people to pull up, have a break, and having all this information we have here. In all that time, we contacted Ian Chaffey several times. On the second time we contacted him was after the ranger came out again, said there was no camping in the park, and he even asked where the bollards were, and I was told him they're behind the pub. And so anyway, ongoing, it happened, and then must have been about about June last year or this year. Signs were put up in the park, and the bollards were put back in, and it stated no camping in the park. Now we spoke to Ian Chaffey again, and he didn't even he changed his story again. He said all camping is to be at the hall. Now we also we actually spoke to sorry, yeah, let Chris continue here for a minute.
And
Chris, could you be a bit closer to the microphone? We couldn't hear you.
Back in after the fires in 1920, Anthony Carroll came down, and he promoted a lot of small businesses and such with what was it called? The swags and whatnot. It was
Swag.
yeah, and he was the one that then made it. But we had a lot of accidents happening off of Southern Cloud, going into Roger and Amy's paddock and whatnot, and young women coming here crying at 9, 10 o'clock at night, not knowing where they were. So he made this a fatigue management zone, because we were halfway between Tumba and Corryong. And he said it would be like a one-night overnight stay primitive camp. I'd never heard of primitive camp until I'd met him. So, but we were under the, opinion that this is what it was. Jeffrey had no idea about it. That's where the conflict came into it. And I said, well, I'm only going on what Anthony Carroll had done. And apparently JR worked alongside Anthony as well when this was all going on. So, you know, there's been a lot of he say, she say, and nothing's really come to the party. But overall, with the park itself, we need that park to be open so everyone has a choice, basically, to swag it overnight, you know, or stop there. I know they can park alongside the road, but a lot of the fellas on bikes and that come here literally want to throw the swag out beside their bike, you know, and we've sort of tried at Christmas time to keep everyone up in front of the pub so it doesn't affect Jeffrey's business. You know, we try and be considerate and work alongside each other, but he just does not want camping. He told me he would fight me all the way. So we have, a bit of a dilemma.
Chris, thank you. That's been 5 minutes.
Yes.
I'll now open the floor to councillors to ask Chris and Chris questions. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you for the presentation. Just a quick question. So basically what you're saying is that there is a commercial accommodation right next door to where this is, or where you are, next to the hotel.
Yeah, there's a B&B, Brigham House beside us that we were catering for as well.
Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering how many. So I was just wondering how many. Yes, how many rooms is that Airbnb or B&B?
Four.
How many people can stay there? 4.
Yeah,
so you're
there's
limited to 4 people.
And we have 2.
And do you have, so the maximum would be 6 people to stay around the 2 million. You couldn't house any more people unless they camped?
No, we've only got the 2 bedrooms. They're basically basic accommodation. You've got 4 single beds and a queen, and then another room with a queen. So we can hold probably 7 people.
Councillor Sheldon.
Yes. Do you have any figures on the amount of people that actually camp at the campsite?
Yeah, it's basically through the festive season. It's Christmas. Like, honestly, no one camps there. No one camps there. It's over the season when all the bikes come through, and we may have a group of 10, 15 come through wanting to camp here overnight in their swag and have a meal and a few drinks, which helps us stay open. But other than that, throughout the year, no. Everyone comes and uses the park, which is also another issue with where the no camping sign is on the ramp down to the lower level, because now wheelchairs and people in walkers can't use that. So anyone using the bottom as well.
One question and then over to Councillor Packard.
Just a question, how long have you been at the pub there, and have people been camping there the whole time that you've been there? Is this something which has been going on for a long time? And do you know about the...
Yeah, I bought the place in 2019. And there has always been people, a lot of locals that like to come here and have a drink and stay the night, whether that be in their car, you know, beside their car, rooftop tents, that sort of thing. But as for numerous amounts of people and you know, camping there for weeks on end or anything like that, never. But it's always been camping. The local people like McCollums and that, Bakers, they've all said that the park has always had people stay there.
Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. There seems to be quite a lot of space at the back of the pub. Can they camp there?
Yes, they can. We do have the bigger, sorry, baby, we do have the bigger caravans to try and keep them off the side of the road, because we do have a milk tanker that comes in twice a day. Hence why Chris got those bollards, because they used to be every second one. And then after, when they put the toilet blocks in, the rec committee put in one in between that to stop anyone parking on the grass. But if they wanted to, it comes down to choice. A lot of the bike riders like to be beside the creek, just to stay there from 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're usually gone by 6 in the morning.
With the size of the park on the lower level, last summer there, we had a couple of big vans went down there, and because of the rotunda down the lower level, it's very hard to turn around. So we can get this kept open as a permanent campsite. Well, not only, you can't put big caravans down the bottom anyway, so it's a restricted area. You could have put a sign there saying no large vans past this point, and all large vans can stay up on top and beside the road or behind the pub, and all small stuff, if they want to, can go down in the park, and have the park open for the not just campers but people in general to use.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Are there any
Sure.
other questions from councillors?
One quick one.
Councillor Thompson?
Just in relation to rubbish and removal of rubbish, I don't see that there are garbage bins or anything associated with it. So maybe through you, Madam Mayor, to the staff.
Acting General Manager.
There is a bin.
If we could,
stand.
Chris, this has been directed to a staff member.
Oh, sorry.
Steve's talking, but he's on mute.
Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, Steve, you're on mute.
Okay, so as Chris was about to say, there is a bin there. I think I just have to check with staff as to how often that gets emptied, but there is a bin there.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors?
No.
No. Christine and Chris, thank you very much
Yeah,
for your
just one more.
time.
Can I just say
Sorry.
one thing before we go?
No, Councillor Works.
So in terms of safety, obviously you're a licensed venue. Do you find that people who ever want to stay there and camp, but they're unable to because there's camping's restricted? But obviously you have a lot of bike riders come through. It's not a very safe thing to ride your bike after a beer. Do you think it's a safety issue in terms of people not being able to camp there because they're forced to move on?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons Anthony Carroll did make it a fatigue management zone for that reason, so that they can stop.
Thank you, Christine and Chris. We appreciate your time.
That's more up to date.
Thank you.
All this space.
And next on the public forum, we have Hansi Arnold. Up the front. Hansi speaking against item 11.7, section 711, development contribution update and draft section 7.12, development contributions plans 2024. You have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, thanks. Allow me to share my thoughts on item 11.7, section 711, contributions update and the draft 7.12 plan. I had thought for a while I should have addressed you after being out on public exhibition. I had second thoughts about that. As I read the recommendation of the executive manager and read number 3, allocated the restricted funds from 711 plan or general, I'm not sure what that means, to the following projects. I thought, hang on the face of this, there are mostly all additions to new capital projects undertaken with grant funding that became a large part of the financial load the council now faces. This increased spending of nearly 600,000 plus will have a further impact on the bottom line of council finances. There are ratepayers back to council. There are repayments back to council general funds. We cannot tell how much of it are capital additions to the projects, as there is no breakdown of what specifically is being created or improved. General terms such as recreational space, embellishment, upgrades, shade infrastructure are beautiful words, but does not identify if it's maintenance, so no extra cost, or capital expenditure with extra cost. Surely I do not need to remind any of you here that were part of previous councils, how difficult it was personally for all of us when we made the decisions to cut library call hours in our small communities. And now you have recommended that we should spend money on signage and embellishment work, and we pay council admin 30,000 for that pool that went over budget as a result of some mistakes that were made. Section 711 contribution, as it states in the report before you, has to be a demonstrated link between the development and the infrastructure that the contribution is funding. The report also states that 7.11 document will remain in force until the final adoption of the proposed 712 plan. Now, the 712 plan, proposed plan, does not require that link between development and infrastructure. Simply put, and as I had legal advice by my lawyers, where the 60+ extra car parks that the community is still owed by this council for Tumut CBD, the contributions raised by council, be they in dollars or in kind, have to be expended within a reasonable time and a reasonable walking distance from where they are levied. Could I put a question on notice? Where were these levies raised? Concern is that the contributions collected have been 573,000, nearly 600,000 until October 24. Yet the records indicate there have been no other allocations to any projects since that plan stated in 2015. Again, I ask, where and how much was raised for which development so the money can be spent where it should be, if at all possible? Going through the recommendations, I don't get that one. Yes, subject to details as to what specifically is to be embellished and the exit is needed. And the number C is Rotary Park. This may be C red, I'm sorry. Another 150,000 on state infrastructure. What might that consist of? Shade sails, like the ones that were installed on the leased car park and within years ripped apart by a hailstorm and then flat for years until finally removed? Our beautiful Rotary Park, built by volunteers, costing the community no money, including the maintenance, but blessed by existing trees and newly planted deciduous trees, providing that natural full shade environment on that riverfront. Now we were given money to create a modern park. The bulldozers rushed in and totally denuded the area of the planting. And notwithstanding, a beautiful modern park, play park was created. And now guess what? The replacement planting was promised to us that the Rotary Club, despite what had happened to them, had offered to replant so we could make good what was destroyed, has not happened and is not wanted by the powers to be. B is Riverwalk accessibility and signage. Great idea, but if you have to cut services like libraries and pools to some parts of our community, what are you thinking? Have you forgotten these words already? Needs versus wants? Staff argue it is for tourism attractions, yes, with good parking availability, open stores, clean toilets and streets mowed, and maintain cemeteries. They're the most important thing. By the way, did the mower with the catch of GM Matt Hyde promised the community as being on order at the first meeting of the previous council ever arrived? Another transfer to administer the new section 7.12 plan. When it comes to intervene, the 711 plan already is part of the administration, including the parking levy as per the attachment to the papers today. And then there is 140,000 plus for general road funding. Please identify the general road fund projects. I, with no knowledge, can think of 2 roads that have issues as a result of poor planning at the time of subdivisions. Developer would have paid contribution during that period, but the roads were never realigned or formed properly. E.g. Property Road and Little River Road.
Thank you, Pansy.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, have we any questions for Pansy? Mrs. Amor? Let's just wait, there might be questions. Any discussion? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hansie.
Now we'll officially open the meeting with an acknowledgement of country. We celebrate the deep and enduring connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people to the country and acknowledge their continuing custodianship of the land, seas and sky. We acknowledge the ongoing stewardship of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and the important contribution they make to our communities and economies. In Snorri Valleys Council, we acknowledge the Wiradjuri, Woongaloo and Narragaow people. Now I'll read there are no apologies. Oh no, I have to read the preamble. Okay. Live streaming of council meeting. This meeting is live streamed on council website to allow the community to follow council debates and decisions. Member of the public participating in a meeting agree to have their image, voice and personal information, including name and address, recorded and publicly broadcast. Snowy Valleys Council does not accept liability for any defamatory remarks or inappropriate comments that are made during the course of the meeting. Any part of the meeting that is held in closed session will not be streamed. Statement of ethical obligations. All councillors are reminded of the oath or affirmation of office they made under section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993 and the obligations under Council's Code of Conduct to disclose and appropriately manage conflict of interest. Use of mobile phones at council meetings. Please ensure that your mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting, and no recording of voice or images is permitted. In the event of an emergency at a council meeting, please evacuate the building using the nearest exit and follow the instructions given by the warden. Do not use the lift. If participating in the meeting from an alternate venue, please enact the evacuation plan for that location if required. Now, we have no apologies or leave of absence. We have one declaration of
Excuse me,
interest.
excuse me, Madam Mayor, we do have apology from Councillor Larder.
Oh, no, we don't.
Oh,
He's here.
oh, sorry. I thought that was for today.
Yeah, he changed his mind.
All right.
Dedication.
Sorry about that, Councillor Larder. I can't see you too well on my
types of
screen.
difficulties to be here.
Okay.
Okay, declarations of pecuniary interest. We have the Director of Community and Corporate.
For you, Madam Mayor, I'm just going to declare a pecuniary interest in relation to report 11.1 due to a relative being an interested party, and I will return that.
Thank you. Next is the confirmation of minutes. Sorry. Moved by Councillor Hayes, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any discussion?
Yes, look, I spoke at this at the time, but I'm still concerned about the lease for the Along Services and Citizens and Bowling Club, which I think is I think it's a bit draconian. I think it's far too much to ask for a community group who does good for the community, operates with a volunteer board, and they put in a lease, and we as a council, or the previous council, decided to pop that up by another $3,000 a year, plus hit them with a CPI plus 2%. Plus,
thank you, Councillor Hayes. Are you trying to have the minutes changed here?
No, I'm just speaking to them. I just and look, what I would ask is that I would ask that the new council considers looking at it and possibly putting in a rescission motion to that effect.
We'll take that as noted. Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Any other comments? All in favour? Actually, in all honesty, there's Councillor Thompson and Councillor Hayes. Yes, you were the only, and Councillor Larder were here for that meeting. But everyone's to move. Yes. Okay. All in favour? Councillor Inglis. Thank you. Unanimous.
I'm against.
Okay.
Oh.
Councillor Hayes is
against.
And one against. So we move to correspondence and petitions. 6.1 petition, closure of the Aerodrome Library and reduction in pool season. We had 3 recommendations there. Do I have a mover? Councillor Thompson.
Second.
Councillor Packard. Councillor Thompson, would you like to speak?
I'll actually speak to the motion only because what this is, it's the report coming back to us identifying that the expressions of interest went out. Sorry, I've got the wrong report. But having said that, is that at this point in time, with the report that we have further in our business paper, it identifies that we can't really change the season for pool, and we need to be very mindful of the budget that we have, and not to just change the budget without fully understanding the implications and where any additional funds would come from to change this. So while we appreciate it and we take on board, and we can look at reviewing it in the future, for us to change these figures and this funding now would impact on our overall budget, is my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Anyone against?
Yeah, I'll speak again. I think I've also got 54 more signatures here. I'll just pass them down. I think
Thank you, Councillor House.
that came in later. Look, it just seems to me, and this is my community, that there wasn't a lot of consultation. And as far as the library goes, I don't think it's legal, because I think you have to maintain 2.2 staff in Adelaide. And this means you've just cut them by 0.2. And I don't think that's allowed. So you must maintain that staff level. And I think that's Local Government Act. I think it's 217C or something.
Is that a question? Are you asking a question?
That's a statement.
It's a statement. General Manager, Acting General Manager, Interim General Manager?
Yeah, so in relation to maintenance of staff in rural centres of population, what the Act says is that you must maintain your staff in rural centres of populations under 5,000 where it's reasonable to do so. Now, if the council's got financial challenges and it's not reasonable to do so, then councils can make that choice if they wish to. Having said that, our overall objective in, over an extended period of time is, where possible, we would try and retain those staffing numbers at where they were at the time of amalgamation. But the Act clearly says where it's reasonable to do so.
Thank you, Interim General Manager. Councillor Sheldon.
Look, I have concerns that this really is just part of the bigger picture of our financial viability. And I think if we rush a decision on this, it could blow up in our face again. And so, look, I can't support it. I'm sorry.
Yes. Councillor Larter.
Yeah, well, I concur with Councillor Sheldon. I think this is part of a bigger picture that's rotten from the head down. This local government minister is in fairy world if he thinks that these councils can sustain themselves into the future in regional settings. I mean, it's absolutely fanciful that they expect us to run a budget where we can't even pay for the staff on the income. And we've got really and truly, I mean, other than tinkering around the edges, we've got no way of counteracting that. So we need an urgent delegation to meet with the Premier and with the local government minister to advise them that the majority of regional councils are dysfunctional because of funding modelling, which does not support economic and social sustainability in regional areas.
Are you suggesting a 0.4 of the recommendations?
Well, I think that should be an absolute priority. I mean, we can't just keep taking half an hour off somebody's library time in Tumut and Adelong and think that we're going to solve the financial crisis of local government.
Councillor Thompson and Councillor Packard, are you happy if we add a 0.4 to have a delegation to address these issues with the Minister for Local Government?
Madam Mayor, I'm actually thinking it would be better, not necessarily in this report, but we do have a report further on. We're asking for motions for the conference that is coming up. It is a state conference, and that way you get the support of delegates from across New South Wales, not just a delegation. We also spoke about the minister, or the intent of hearing less voices but stronger voices, and I think that the place to put that would be as a motion to the Local Government New South Wales conference coming up in Tamworth.
Happy with that, Councillor Larter?
I think we should do both.
Yeah. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Packard, would you be happy to accept a fourth point of the motion? Councillor Packard, yes?
I'd like to see the word to understand what it would cost to do that, so that we actually have a report to say who would be going and what would be intended being there. So I'm happy for us to include it, but I'd also like to understand what the implications are going to be on the organisation overall.
Oh, I understand, right. Okay.
I'd ask that if that's included, that we put point 4 separately when we vote.
Okay, so point for 4 is to have a delegation. To the Minister of Local Government
And Premier.
and Premier.
Council requests a meeting.
Okay, the better wording is have the councillor address, request a meeting with the Minister for Local Government and the New South Wales Premier to discuss financial sustainability issues.
Yes.
There may be others, Madam Mayor, as well, by the end of the day.
Well,
Quite possibly.
Choose
We'll just wait.
Yeah.
regional actual council.
I can see. Councillor Thompson and Councillor Packard, are you happy to with point 4? Thank you, Councillor Packard.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Sheldon.
I actually thought, Trina, and it doesn't say it there, or Councillor Thompson, excuse me, wanted a point in there that it should be raised at the local government conference.
we can do that when we get to that.
Okay.
report.
Okay. Councillor Larter?
No, I was just
no,
gonna-
you're.
I was just going to say, if that could be put separately, point 4.
All separately.
Yeah, I'm happy for them to be all run separately, but I mean, I'm even happy for that point 4 to be raised at the end of the meeting in case anything else comes up that needs to be included, if you like.
We just have a long list. So Councillor Thompson, you have the right of reply. Oh, sorry, anyone else would like to?
Sorry,
Councillor.
is the pool one not somewhat of a moot point at the moment, and that we're already into the period where the pool's been delayed being closed, and it'll be pretty much open now? I'm not sure of the exact dates, but it seems, it was to delay the opening. Is it not open already?
So a question to.
I'll refer that to Mr. Mitchell.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The pool, the Aerodrome pool, is scheduled to open as per the current calendar and as what council resolved in terms of the changed hours of operation in the next fortnight.
Okay.
So it won't change the current season at all.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. It won't. So there's a full year, almost a full year, to look at that.
That's right.
For the petitioners to be comfortable that. I mean, I know the library one is a different issue, but
yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone who hasn't debated, like a word, questions? Otherwise, Councillor Thompson, a right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I suppose the point that I'd really like to make here is that when you look at what each of the recommendations is, if we start putting too much into it, then what we're doing is that we're changing. We would be required to change how we do the pool season and even the library services, which would then have a flow-on effect with our budget. And if it changes any of the fees and charges, we'd be required to go out for 28 days. So it would delay even further. So in this way, we are acknowledging the petitioners. As Councillor Packard has said, it also gives us the opportunity over the next 12 months to look further at options, if that's what Councillor Hayes would like. But we need to be able to give some certainty to the community as to exactly what is happening now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I will now put the first 3 recommendations. All those in favour? So we have Thompson, Packard, Hardwick, Works. All those against? Hayes, Larter, Inglis, Sheldon. And I'm for. Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to 6.2 petition.
And
Yes,
vote for point four.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Point 4. Well, yes, point 4. Can all those in favour? Unanimous.
I think you would have got a different result if you put the first three separately.
The issue's been completed. 6.2 petition primitive camping at McGinty's Park, Toomey. Do I have someone to move the recommendation? Councillor Thompson, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Worth? Councillor Thompson, would you like to speak to the recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The issue of the concern that I have is that if we start having pop-up primitive camping, because we're not going to comply with any of the guidelines that have been given to us here, it creates that ongoing issue. Maybe inappropriate for me to say, however, I'm sure that if there are people who are bike riders who have a swag on the back of their vehicle who just happen to put a swag down and lay down, it's a very different scenario to having Winnebagos and full caravans and full camping setups. I'm also mindful that it does identify in here the Toomer Hall recreational area and also the issue of the commercial business next door. I think we need to be very careful the messages that we're sending. Once we actually formalise and endorse it, does that mean that anybody who just wants primitive camping anywhere can set it up? I think to formalise it creates an issue. I don't think it will stop the bike riders, and I don't think the intent is that bike riders can't pull off a swag. The idea is that we just don't have all of the Winnebagos and caravans and bulk. So, the other thing I would query is whether or not if there was a particular event on, whether there could be provision given for a one-off of primitive camping for that one-off event.
Is that a question?
It's something that I think we can pursue going forward.
Okay,
So,
thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Councillor Sheldon?
When I asked the people that were presenting, I asked the numbers. Now that does concern me, because if those numbers aren't accurate, there could be social and environmental issues. That's why I asked the question, and I think we could get a decent report on it to find out what the social and environmental issues are down there if nothing is done about it, because it could backfire. And we do have to be mindful of other people around and using that facility.
Councillor Latta?
Oh, I'd actually ask that the decision on this should be delayed until we can get some accurate information on it. I mean, we're just flying blind here.
Councillor Packer?
It was just a question to staff. I'm not sure which staff person. Are there alternatives to primitive camping? Is primitive that could potentially be done there? What would need to make it, or what there or at the hall, just so that we can give the people, the petitioners, comfort that we're not just saying there is no, there's going to be, you're not going to be able to have people resting. I can't remember the term she used. But yeah, just so that we can see that there could be another option either on that side.
The interim acting general manager?
Okay, so look, I'm a little bit concerned about Councillor Latta's comment about flying blind, because councillors aren't flying blind. The report, there is nothing wrong with the report in my view. Clearly, the side of the park is insufficient to support primitive camping. It doesn't meet the requirements of the regulation. That is a fact, okay? How many people camp there is irrelevant. It does not meet the minimum requirements for primitive camping. Now, what council decide to do is totally up to them, but I've spoken with the hall committee. Potentially that could be a site. They're, I suppose, they're not necessarily overly keen on having the hall as a primitive camping site. And I think from the hotel's perspective, as I've written in the report, you know, it's a difficult walk from the hall grounds to the hotel because, you know, there's 3 bridges you've got to cross without pedestrian access, which is quite probably an unsafe situation to create. So, you know, I don't think there is the possibility of coming back with finding accurate numbers of how many people camp there. How would we know? That's really irrelevant. The relevant issue is it doesn't meet the minimum size requirements of the regulation.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Worth.
Yeah, I'd just like to talk on alternatives. You were saying there about the hall potentially, but there's issues of 3 bridges.
So this is a question to the interim acting general manager?
Sort of, yeah. Yeah, I just want to see if there's no other alternatives and then you can't use that park as a camping area, does that limit the ability for, you know, the Toomer Inn and that to be a viable, you know, people can't camp there and they can't camp at the hall, they'll just keep going and Toomer Inn will be bypassed and it'd be neglected in a sense by the council. So is there, obviously there's a minimum requirement for primitive camping, but is there an alternative for the camping site besides primitive camping? Is there another name for it, I suppose, or another alternative to that?
Well, primitive camping, I suppose, provides a cost-effective way of providing a camping site. If you're going to other camping sites, someone's got to install the infrastructure, and I don't think that's going to be council in the current light. As the proprietors of the hotel said, they have got you know, some capacity out the back. And look, you know, as I've said in the report, you know, we provide support to primitive camping areas that do meet the requirements within about 10 kilometres of Toomer. Okay, that's not for the people that want to camp overnight at Toomer. But again, the hotel proprietors did concede that they do get patronage from those primitive camping sites that council provides and maintains. So, you know, I think the report stands on its own, and I don't think there's much more I can add to that.
Thank you. Councillor Inglis.
If it's non-compliant, Madam Mayor, it's non-compliant. And that's what the General RGM is telling us. I think our hands are tied, regrettably.
Thank you, Councillor Inglis. Councillor Thompson, do you want to close debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I think it's that everybody's made their comments. I don't need to add anything further.
Okay, I'll put the 3 recommendations. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So now we move on to a mayoral minute, and I will take this time to make a mayoral minute to, as a note of appreciation, which I will put in writing to the Val and Peter Fitzpatrick, who have run 10 ultra marathons on the Henry Angel Flat at Burra outside of Tumbarumba. Last weekend there was 230 people who from every state and territory throughout Australia running this 150-mile ultra marathon, and it's a great event and a letter of appreciation to be put in.
Madam Mayor, can I move that we bring forward report 11.7 from page 107?
Certainly, can we put that before we start the governance and financial reports? So 11.7. 11.7.
Page 107.
Okay. So we have, yep.
It's the development contribution update and draft section.
Okay, so Councillor Thompson's moved that. Do we have a seconder?
It's, oh, has she?
Yep.
I withdraw.
You
We
withdraw?
won't- Yeah, we won't confuse it.
withdraw. Okay. We have no motions of rescission and no urgent business without notice.
Can I just urgent business without notice? Can I just foreshadow a notice of motion based on previous notice of motion and resolution of council for a Royal Commission into COVID, that the Port Hedland Council have passed a motion now in relation to the immediate halting of mRNA vaccines, and that's gone to the Prime Minister. So I will be bringing some information forward on that to council at the next meeting for review. And
Thank you, Councillor Larda. That isn't urgent though, but we look forward to seeing that report in the next.
it's urgent for the people that are dying from the vaccines.
We appreciate that.
Can I
Okay,
also ask, there was a
Councillor
request
Larda,
previously.
it has to be urgent business.
This is urgent. There was a request of Mr. Mitchell previously for a report into the handling of our water in regard to
Councillor
fluoride.
Larda, we've talked about fluoride. I concur with you, but it's not urgent business today. But should you want a report brought forward, I think.
Oh, well, I've already asked for a report.
Okay.
But where is it?
Councillor,
Point of order.
yes, Councillor Thompson.
The point of order is that it's been raised as a matter of urgency. You've already said that it's not a matter of urgency. There is the opportunity to have notices of motion requesting what it is that Councillor Larda would like. So it's not on the business paper before us at this point.
I concur. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to 10.1, de-amalgamation update. There's one recommendation there.
Moved.
Seconded.
Sorry, who moved that? Councillor Hayes, Councillor Packard. Councillor Hayes.
One small step forward. Let's keep moving that way.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon?
I did speak to it earlier on today. The importance of everyone reading this documentation and all scenarios. Because there really is some enlightening figures in there and some rather horrifying figures. And we've got to be very cognizant all the way through, no matter which area we're in, it is going to be significantly affect those people in both the previous councils and if we demerge, if we go ahead with this. And I must say, I did say right from the outset, I would support this demerge if the figures stack up, which I doubt they will. And on first reflection on going through this report or all the reports and all the scenarios, I can't see that occurring. And it is vitally important that every councillor brings themselves up to speed with the full report as it is today, before we get further reports from Taggart. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheldon. Any other speakers? Councillor Hayes, do you want to close debate? Oh, Councillor Larda.
I just concur with what Councillor Sheldon said there. We can't seem to find the money for a half an hour extension to somebody's staff time at the library. So, to me, that there is great importance on finding out who's going to be paying for this demerger if it does get approved and gets to that point. I mean, it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. And where's it coming from?
Thank you, Councillor Larda. Councillor Packard?
Seconding this, it's just seconding, accepting the report, basically, just so that we've got that information.
Thank you.
It's not anything more than that.
No, exactly. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hayes, in saying that, do you want to close debate?
No, I think we should put the motion.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, now, Councillor, 10.2, the 2025 schedule of ordinary council meeting dates and times.
Madam Mayor, I'll move the recommendations with the exception of point 2. I'd like to exclude following where it says 2025 commencing, I think we need to just dates for 2025 to take out the time at 2 p.m. and to be held in the Tumut Council chambers and just adopt the dates. So I'm moving that we just exclude the time and the location. We set the dates and keep those. And I'd like to include a point 4, the time and location to be determined and notified to the community. Sorry, minute taker.
Councillor Thompson's put forward a change to point 2 and extra point. Does she have a seconder?
Certainly does.
Councillor Packard, thank you. Councillor Thompson, would you like to speak to it?
Only very quickly, the setting of the dates is fairly straightforward and standard. The reason that, in my opinion, I believe we take out the time and the location is that during the candidate sessions, it was made clear that there are other communities that would welcome a council meeting to be held there. So we're not specifying where they're going to be held. And just in relation, I think that the timing of the meetings is something that with the new council, we need to actually work in with what best suits the majority of our councillors. And that's only something that can be done once we've had the opportunity to discuss it. So the dates are really important at this point. Notification or giving notice of the council meetings is when you can give them the time and the location.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Sheldon?
Look, yes, I think if we all remember around the forums, a lot of people did say when we were asked at Tumbarumba if they would support having every second meeting up there. And I'll say I did. And I apologise to Tumbarumba right now, because I believe if we have meetings in Tumbarumba, we owe it to the people of Talbingo, Batlow and Adelong to hold at least one meeting in their precinct per year.
Councillor Latta.
Yeah, look, I'll speak against it. I mean, at the end of the day, the head of operations is in Tumut. The staff officers are in Tumut. We don't have money. We can't be asking staff to pack up cars, get all the documents in cars, drive to these remote locations, set up, get all the infrastructure in place to support all the live streaming. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, maybe we can go and have information sessions or meet the councillors at these other locations. I would fully support that, but having the meeting away from your hub is ridiculous. It's costly, it's not economically viable. And I mean, if we need an urgent report from downstairs, the staff have access to it. You know, it just makes sense to keep everything streamlined from here.
Thank you, Councillor Latta. Any other councillor words?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I also said in that meeting up in Tumbarumba that I would support one meeting every third meeting in Tumbarumba. I believe that's a fair divvying of the meetings. Obviously, Tumut is the main centre of the Shire, but Tumbarumba was also the main centre of its Shire when they weren't amalgamated. So given that the Snowy Valleys is an amalgamated Shire, I believe that we should have a meeting at least once a quarter in Tumbarumba. Now, I'm not sure whether the Tumbarumba Council Chambers is it leased at the moment? I'm not too sure. If it's unleased, it gives us the opportunity to have the meeting there.
Is that a question?
It is, yeah. I was just wondering whether it's still leased by the Transgrid.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can confirm that it's not currently leased at the moment. But just to clarify Council's position, will this be on a month-to-month sort of basis that we would review the venue or time?
No, I believe it. Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. In response to the acting general manager at the moment, my understanding would be, trying to get all the protocols right. My understanding is that once we have the opportunity to sit down and develop a timetable, remembering this is the first council meeting of this council, we've had very little opportunity to discuss some of these specific issues. And I think that all I'm doing here is that we can come up with a program of times once we've had a discussion around locations and times. I'm not saying month to month setting it out, but just noting that you have to just give notice.
Is that the closing of debate?
No, there was one other point in closing of the debate, is that, you know, in this day of technology, it's not a matter of having to take all of the reports with us, because most of them are available electronically. And believe it or not, Tumbarumba does have a photocopier up there that if you want hard copy reports. Also, the fact of the availability of being able to conduct a council meeting, the ones that we held up there with the technology was fine. And I'm sure that there are the opportunities for us to be able to go back. So with that, I'll close debate.
Thank you. I'll put the 4 motions in one, the 4 points in one. All those in favour?
Sorry, just, we don't need, as it occurs at the end, just notify the community of the time and location for each meeting.
Councillor Packard, you're happy with that?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
So all in favour? 1, 5. Yep. So we have Councillor Thompson, Councillor Packard, Councillor Inglis, Councillor Hardwick, and Councillor Watt.
I just want to clarify.
No, I'm sorry.
All right.
All those against? We have Councillor Larder, Councillor Hayes, and Councillor Sheldon. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 10.3. Oh, committees and nominations of delegates. So we have received some expressions of interest for committees from the councillors. And so the recommendations is to review and nominate those. So if I could have a mover, I could read out the
Madam
expressions of
Mayor,
interest.
I'll move it, but can I please add a 5th point, that council or delegates be appointed for 2-year terms, for a term of 2 years.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hardwick.
Doesn't it say that in the 3rd point, 24 to 26 period? That's a 2-year period.
24 to 28, it says.
No, it says 26.
It does say 26, so it's changed.
26. Well spotted, Councillor Worth. Councillor Thompson, do you mind if we
Scrap it?
take
No,
point 5 out?
I'm really happy with that. I just.
Thank you, Councillor Worth. Are you seconding it now that?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Worth. Okay, so please bear with me while I read this out. Section 355, committees, community committees. Adelong Showground Committee, Councillor Worth, Councillor Hayes. Glenroy Heritage Reserve, Councillor Packard, Councillor Ham. Toomer Recreation Reserve Committee, Councillor Hardwick, Councillor Thompson. As I'm saying this, the second person is normally the alternate. So the councillors have agreed to work together so that there is always councillor representation. Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, Councillor Packard, Councillor Worth. Australia Day Committee, Councillor Thompson. And Councillor Ham. First Nations Liaison Committee, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Worth. Floodplain Risk Management Committee, Brungle, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hardwick. Floodplain Risk Management Committee, Tumut, Councillor Packard, Councillor Sheldon. Floodplain Risk Management Committee, Tumbarumba, Mayor Ham, Councillor Larter. General Manager Review Committee, Mayor, Councillor Ham, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Packard, Councillor Sheldon. Tumut Aerodrome Committee, Councillor Larter, Councillor Hardwick. Youth Council Committee, Councillor Worth, Councillor Hardwick. Now on to working groups. The Disability Inclusion Access Reference Volunteer Working Group, Councillor Packard, Councillor Thompson. Pratt Foundation Steering Group, Mayor Ham, Councillor Hayes, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Inglis. External committees with councillor representation, Adelong Progress Association, Councillor Hayes, Councillor Sheldon. Batlow Cider Rail Trail Steering Committee, Councillor Worth, Councillor Inglis. Brindabella Economic Link Group, Councillor Sheldon, Councillor Worth. Canberra Regional Joint Organisation, Mayor Deputy Ham, Deputy Mayor Councillor Packard, alternate. Other councillors who wish to attend as observer to consult with the Mayor. Hyne Community Trust Foundation, Mayor Ham, Councillor Packard. Interagency Forum, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hardwick. Local Traffic Committee, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Sheldon. Riverina Regional Library Service Committee, Mayor Ham. Softwoods Working Group, Mayor Ham, Councillor Hayes, Councillor Packard, Councillor Works. Southern Regional Planning Panel, Councillor Sheldon, Councillor Packard. Telbingo Community Association, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Hardwick. Tumbarumba Chamber of Commerce, Councillor Ham, Councillor Hardwick. Tumut Chamber of Commerce, Business Snowy Valleys, Councillor Hardwick, Councillor Works. Visy Community Consultative Community, Mayor Ham, Councillor Thompson. Cancoban United Volunteer Association, Mayor Ham, Councillor Hardwick. So reading those. Now looking at the recommendations.
Wow.
And we're happy with those ones being removed.
Madam Mayor, I was just going to acknowledge that unless you wanted to speak to those committees that are no longer.
Well, no, I really appreciate the councillors that have put up their hand, and thank you very much. And it's good to see people moving outside where they live to be on committees. Thank you very much. So we've got Councillor Thompson. Would you like to speak to it?
Madam Mayor, thank you. Just to outline, the last thing we want is for the community to think that we are dissolving or removing more access for community engagement and consultation through those committees that have gone, but there are very good reasons for those ones. They have either not been active or are no longer required as part of the council interaction section. So I think that the representation of you said is impressive, especially for those who are preparing to travel well beyond, and it demonstrates clearly to the community that as a united council, we do represent the whole of Snowy Valleys. This is not about parochial being only in your own community. So that's where I think it really has a role to play, connecting with our smaller communities and making sure that we do have faces to name.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. We have anyone speaking? Okay, I'll put the motion. The 4 recommendations. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 10.4. Extraordinary meeting of council. It does say the 24th of October, but that has been now moved to the 31st of October. So if people could amend their recommendation to that. Do I have a mover?
Sorry, do we have I'll move it. Can we have a time put in there?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
And a location.
Yeah.
Time, location. You?
So the usual process would be 2 p.m. in the Tumut Council Chamber.
Okay. With the addition of that, I'm happy to move that then.
Okay. Councillor Packard and a seconder. Councillor Latta. Councillor Packard, do you want to speak to that?
Not just that it's absolutely vital that we have it, because we have to approve or ratify the financials. And, so non-negotiable, really.
Thank you. Do you want another speaker, Councillor Sheldon?
Yes, please. That's the one, I just want to clarify, that's the one you need 5 people to attend, the mayor and then other delegates, but the new councillors.
Is this a question?
Yes, it is a question. Should the new councillors be ratifying something they're not responsible for? My legal advice is no.
Through you, Madam Chair, so the answer is yes. So technically speaking, the current council should ratify the financial statements, and essentially we're sending them out on exhibition for 28 days. but that is, something that the full council has to do. So it goes to the ARIC committee first, and then it does come to council.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Councillor Wirtz?
I just like to say, the 31st of October being that's the deadline, would be better to hold the meeting the week before on the 24th.
Through you, Madam Mayor, unfortunately, the audit is running about a week behind. So it was meant to start on the 23rd of September, but the audit office are running late. So the statements won't be ready in time for the 24th.
Okay.
Hence why we've now put it back away.
So will that mean the lodgement date will be behind after 31st of October?
So the aim is to have the council meeting, and then essentially once it's all signed off and been endorsed to go out on public exhibition, council can then send off the draft sort of statements to the OLG in the afternoon. So it is tight, but unfortunately that's the deadline at the moment.
Just to close it off, just to make it clear, we're not saying we're necessarily happy with the figures, but we're happy that the process, and as even a new councillor, we're saying we're happy with the process, and so to take the next step in what is just a bunch of statutory guidelines, I guess, for how the accounts have to be handled.
Well put, Councillor Packard. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 10.5, attendance at the Regions Rising National Summit 2024. I have a mover. Councillor Hayes. Seconded by Councillor Larder. Councillor Hayes, would you like to speak?
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to attend this valuable conference. And I was joined by Councillor Larder, who enjoyed some of the speakers there as well. And we went over via the Vindabella Road, which gave us an opportunity to see that and what the wonderful work that council has done there. Probably the keynote for us from the Snowy Valleys was the fact that the keynote speaker was Hannah Spears from Adelon, and if you can get hold of that address, it's well worth listening to. Congratulations to her; she got a standing ovation, and she was outstanding. But certainly the opportunity to meet a lot of people, to get some new ideas. We also met with Squadron Energy's Rob Wheels. Squadron Energy are looking at putting something out here. They're an offshoot of Twiggy Forest Mob, so they might be someone we need to be speaking to going into the future. Transgrid were there as well, so we had an opportunity to speak with Transgrid, as well as the Canberra Region Joint Organisation and the Cross Border Commissioner. So they're always useful to talk to, given our proximity to both Victoria, the Canberra region, and the need to deal with the ACT and some of our surrounding councils. So I would commend it to some of the new councillors as something to look forward to. I know Councillor Ham has been there previously to me, and she said that it was one not to miss, and she was dead right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Anyone else like to speak to it?
I'd just endorse what Councillor Hayes just said. Hannah Spears' keynote speech in regards to her personal situation with the loss of one of her son, and the fires was very moving and very difficult for everyone there, wasn't it? And I think if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a really brought a light onto youth suicides, especially in the country, and it's a difficult subject, but one that she was front and centre about to try and help others.
Thank you, Councillor. I wonder if we should ask Hannah to come and speak with us one day. Thank you. Okay, any other speakers? Okay, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Now, 10.6, Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference Proposed Motion. Okay, we have one recommendation there. Do we have a mover? Councillor Sheldon? No.
Oh,
Councillor
move.
Thompson? Yeah.
There is one recommendation there, but I would also like to ask, this is the area that we could actually raise the issue that Councillor Larter brought up earlier, which is in relation to asking Local Government New South Wales and the executive there to support the idea that, you know, at local government level, we are truly financially struggling to meet the requirements and what is imposed on us by other levels of government. So if there is the opportunity to actually put a second motion up for the Local Government New South Wales Conference, now would be a good time to.
Would I be able to ask the Director of Community and Corporate? Is it too late?
No, so through you, Madam Mayor, I believe submissions for motions close on the 20th of October. We've still got a couple of days. So we can draft something now if we wish, or if the other councillor would like to move that.
Do we need to move into committee so that it can be discussed and wordsmithed, or are we happy to stay?
I think if we could, Jenny's putting out the recommendation now. I think once we've moved that, then we could go into committee and discuss. Was there another motion that was being thought of?
Just the first motion, it's very, very specific around transcript.
Oh, well, that needs to go into the committee. We'll discuss that in committee, I think.
If you wish, yeah.
I don't know if this has to go into committee either. Well, look, I've been approached by
I think that will be a debate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've got the recommendation.
Did it get a second, Madam Mayor?
We haven't got a second.
No, I know. Yeah. So, okay, and Councillor Hayes is going to, but we've also got.
I'll move that we go into committee.
Well, shall we just? We've only got point B, that Local Government New South Wales lobbies the Australian government and New South Wales
We
government
can
to.
discuss in committee.
So within the month. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what Councillor Thompson and Councillor Hayes have moved the motion. Now can we have two people move to, Councillor Thompson has moved to go into committee.
Yep.
Can I have a seconder? Packer, Councillor Packer. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
I'm happy for somebody else to start the discussion. And
I'd like to start with A, if we could.
yeah,
Okay,
I just think that A is a little bit too specific, and it just, you know, I know transcript are the guys coming through here, but what about other infrastructure or UGL or whoever might be doing it? So I think it needs to be all.
so you want the wording of A changed?
Leave transcript in there, I think,
you could
and
use
maybe we can say and other
Major
distribution or
major
whatever
infrastructure projects.
Yeah,
It's not so much about construction, we're talking more about, aren't you, about the energy transformation side of it, or are you looking, how specific do you want to have?
financial remuneration.
well, we want financial remuneration.
Yeah,
We-
from
we,
the
we need to be
impacts.
compensated for these switching yards or whatever they may be. But it's not just transcript doing them. Like who's building
UGL
UGL up there?
in
And then in the
Snowy?
forest there.
Snowy
Snowy
Hydro.
2.0
That's the owner.
as
Yeah,
the
and they've got the wind
Energy
farm
commission.
coming up.
Tommy Gett,
Mm.
the Tommy Kennedy.
impacts of
Yes, Councillor Thompson.
Just through you, just a reminder that the motions that are going up to conference are not necessarily specifically for our own local government area. Often what they want is that the motions that we're putting up are motions that many of the local government areas across New South Wales are having similar issues. So it's not just about us finding the specific project that's happening here, but the intent of it is to raise the issue, the potential to ask for better compensation and ongoing payments and different avenues of generating that income. So it's not just about what's happening to us in our community. It's
So is the wording transgrid and other electrical distribution infrastructure?
Yep.
Is it only about the
That'll cover it.
electrical distribution?
Would be any sort of
I mean, it could be about,
major,
you know, forestry not paying rates.
Yes.
or snowy hydro not paying royalties.
You wanna
Yeah.
make it-
But I mean,
Significant,
You're gonna,
significant
gonna lose a bit
infrastructure
of the-
projects.
Impact of what you're trying to achieve if you don't make it too
Broad.
too broad.
Can we do that? And other significant infrastructure
Yep.
projects?
It's all to do with it's all to do with the energy transformation.
And to take out electrical distribution.
Well, there's other there's similar things that are happening in Snowmanara with wind turbines, and they're very much against it up there. You see a lot of the signs.
they do contribute.
Mhm.
They do contribute. They're,
Yeah, they're gonna. So I think it's like having a similar lobbying of the government. New South Wales.
they have, well, there's a certain percentage of whatever goes back to the community with those. I think that's already been worked out.
Councillor Hayes, are you happy with that wording now?
But it's not renewable energy.
No.
But they're
It's just green.
far from it.
It's not renewable. No.
Madam Mayor, can I
Right.
just, through you, the theme for this year's conference, because quite often they ask for
And other
the
energy progress.
motions to actually relate to,
Yeah.
we know what the theme for this year's conference
Could
is?
be.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm
Thank you.
unsure of
Thank
the theme. I can take that on notice, but one of the key criteria for the motions is that it should concern a substantial number of other local governments in New South Wales. That is one of the key criteria.
Okay, I just want councillor Hayes to be happy with that wording, and then on to you, councillor Sheldon.
Penny's changed it.
Sorry, I think she's got it. Happy with that, councillor Hayes?
Well,
Yep.
I'm not happy with a similar level. I mean, that's
That's a bit.
too open, like Pandora's box.
It should
Get
be
rid
just
of
significant major infrastructure.
As proposed.
Yep.
Yep, that's better.
Yep.
Good, thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
Right, well, mine's two-part. First of all, what is the New South Wales State Government draft energy policy?
That's a
Before we
question.
actually go into these arguments. And the other thing is, when we look at this, there's a bigger impost than just on a council area. There are our farmers, there is renewable energy structures, and I have been approached by one gentleman from Batlow that maybe we should be looking at a bigger picture here and longer term, where is if we can put to the New South Wales government that, you know, there's money is put in trust for Snowy Valleys for the impost on farmers and other structures. You know, when we look at it, we've got all these people travelling our roads, which we're not receiving any money from. And we can actually use that trust fund, the interest, for all these other projects that have been impacted by the Transgrid or whoever development.
And then after councillor Hayes's heart, I think.
Which is what we had in our original advocacy
Advocacy
plan
plan.
for Snowy Hydro.
Yeah.
Exactly, so Snowy Hydro Legacy Fund, sorry.
So, point B, the local government, New South Wales lobbies the Australian government and New South Wales government for better financial sustainability support.
Where are we up to?
In relation to?
For operational matters. For,
We're just focusing on rural and regional.
okay, for regional.
I'd
Rural and regional.
prefer significant to better.
Well,
Better's,
And
again, an open term.
it's wider than just government, also local governments.
For greater funding,
Regional.
increased funding, greater funding.
For improved
We're not getting
improve financial sustainability. Support.
Yeah.
Okay, councillor Hayes, I thought he had another point. Okay. Do I have people to,
Just read through it. Yeah, other.
do I have anyone wanting to move out of committee? Move out of committee?
So we're happy with that. I'll move that we go out of committee.
And a seconder? Councillor Thompson,
Yep.
Councillor Works? All in favour? Okay, now we're back to the original motion, which was,
Madam Mayor, as mover, I'm happy with the changes that have been made to the original motion. It doesn't actually change in a negative way the outcome of the intent of the motion and the inclusion of the second one.
thank you. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. 10.7, Country University Centre update.
I'd move the recommendation.
Moved by councillor Packard. Seconded by councillor Thompson.
Oh, no, take councillor Words.
Take councillor Words, fine. Okay, councillor Packard, would you like to speak on the motion?
Oh, I won't say much. Just that this is a wonderful project. I mean, it's reliant on external funding. Council's only contribution is the in-kind contribution of the building across the road. And they have different rounds of it, and we didn't get last round. With a bit of luck, we'll get this round. And so,
and to support councillor Packard, the application is due on this Friday, and our interim general manager, who has been away for family reasons during this time, he's been working very hard to make sure that it is in. So I want to express my appreciation for that, and also appreciation to councillor Packard, who's taken over as chairperson of this project.
And
Councillor
Foundation.
Hayes. And well, just for people who don't know, the Pratt Foundation has pledged 200,000 towards the capital upkeep of it, and so has the Blakeney Miller Foundation, 100,000. Very generous. And we're also talking with another body that may come up with a shortfall, bring us up to $500,000, which would be an amazing capital injection into this project. Okay, so if there's no other debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried it unanimous. Thank you. 10.8, Christmas closure. There's two recommendations there for two additional points. Do I have a mover? Councillor Larter? A seconder? Councillor Works? Councillor Larter, would you like to speak on the motion? Councillor Works?
I'm good.
Christmas.
Councillor Thompson, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I need to say that it concerns me that within this report, it identifies that as councillors, we actually are not engaged for 9 weeks over that Christmas through to almost the end of February. And I think that as a period of time that is, I apologise, some family issues happening. The issue that concerns me is that that's leading into a very busy time, and I do appreciate that staff also take the time off. But as councillors, you know, we do, you know, we can't just say that, well, we're not going to work over that period. So if there is the need for an extraordinary meeting within that period of time, I think that we should all be aware. I know that people do go away, but 9 weeks is a long time as councillors not to be engaging with council.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would you mind if the Director of Community and Corporate speak to this?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, traditionally speaking, it is a quieter time of year over the Christmas January period. A lot of council staff and councillors are away on holidays and have family commitments. However, it is also a time for preparation for staff for the next 12 months. So it is quite busy in terms of preparing for the council budget and then IPNR framework. So that time is usually used for preparation, because essentially the IPNR and the budget will come back to the February or March meeting. But at the same time, if any urgent business does arrive, council can call an extraordinary meeting at any time to address that business. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Latta?
I mean, I'm sure there's no reason that, the mayor couldn't just activate a Zoom call at some stage during there just as a catch up rather than something official. But it's up to.
Do my best. Okay, if there's no more debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Sheldon? Yep. Unanimous. Thank you. 10.9, councillor expenses for 6 months period ending the 30th of June 2024.
I'll move that.
Moved by councillor Hayes. Seconded by councillor Latta. Councillor Hayes, would you like to speak to the motion?
Only that I would encourage the new councillors to take advantage of the training budget. I think it's essential that you get as much training as you possibly can.
And in that, the two councillor Hardwick and councillor Wirtz are going to Tamworth to the Local Government New South Wales conference.
Yeehaw.
It's a long way to go, and very impressed that they've both put their hands up for everything. Sorry, anyone else want to speak on that? Councillor Sheldon?
Do we have any costings on this local government conference?
A report was tabled in the last in the last council meeting. Yep. Thank you. Okay, all in favour? Unanimous.
Madam Mayor, I just need to take leave for a moment.
Certainly, councillor Thompson. Okay, 10.10. Statement of investments, August 2024. And you'll notice that we've got, normally we only have one of these, but because of the council elections, we've got 2 in a row. So this one's August. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wirtz, councillor Sheldon. Any debate?
Just to say that there's the combined cash and investments table there. There's at call investments, which are obviously on a term deposit by the looks of it. Could be, once the term is up, could be invested at a higher interest rate, potentially accruing more interest while it's sitting there.
Would you like that as a question through to the new Chief of Financial Officer?
On the term.
To you, Madam Mayor. So essentially, we have a movement month to month, approximately 4.8 mil, and that's essentially majority of the investments are sitting in the term deposit. So we do have on an average the interest that's earned 5.78%.
5.17. Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, if that's the case, I'll move the motion, recommendation. All those in favour? Councillor Sheldon?
I put my hand up.
Okay. Unanimous. I've got to be quick with you. Okay. 10.11, statement of investments. Now, this is the September one. I have a mover. Councillor Latta, Councillor Packard. Councillor Latta, do you want to speak to it?
No. Good.
Councillor, anyone else want to speak to it?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, Councillor Hayes and Latta, you're happy there, aren't you? Great. Okay, now we move on to manager reports. Thank you, Jess.
I'll move that. Just before I do, one question, Madam Mayor, the Battler Water Security Project. We have any information on that? 118K. No.
If it's all right with you, councillor Hayes, I think we're going to go into committee over this one, and we could ask that question then. Okay.
It's the last. It's the last.
It's the last project.
You've already.
This is the report we just moved.
You've already.
Oh, no, we've moved it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. No, we're on to 11.1.
But can I find out about that at a later date?
Yeah, noted. Thank you. Yep. Okay, 11.1. Sale of council freehold request.
I think
land lot.
Yeah, the issue is I'm operating on a computer, and it appears that a lot of people are operating on a page, and it's a lot quicker to
Turn a page
than it is to actually. So I think.
Am I moving too fast?
Occasionally for me, but
Sure.
not very often.
I will take. That is noted.
Interesting.
Thank you for the feedback.
Papers.
Okay.
But when
Look, I'm used to and I do understand. Thank you. Okay, 11.1, sale of council freehold request, land lot 1, DP 1163661, Tumut. We have 5 recommendations there. May I have a mover?
I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Moved by councillor Hayes, seconded by councillor Packard. Councillor Hayes, would you like to speak to it?
Look, we do own some land that we don't effectively use. This is one of them. And as I mentioned earlier, the Aerodrome Caravan Park is another one. But this land has been talked about for quite a while. I know there was the talk of putting the fire station down this area, which would be, closer to the other emergency services. But I do note that there is some land closer to the roundabout, which is a road reserve and something else that may accommodate that into the future. So, I think if it can be better utilised than it is now, and it's probably just costing council money to mow it, that would be good. My question is also the road reserve, which is the extension of Clark Street. How will that be handled should this land be sold?
Thank you, councillor Hayes. And out of the blue, the interim general manager has appeared. Would you like?
Looks pink to me.
Is he? I don't think he heard.
Steve, were you planning to answer this question?
Hang on, I'm just shifting from a phone to a laptop.
Loving technology.
I can take it on notice if you like. I can answer it.
Okay, so no, I'm here. So in relation to this, is Mr. Mitchell here?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I'm here, Steve.
Okay. So this is the expression of interest for the sale of land?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's really a question for Mr. Mitchell to answer.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. Nick, to the Director of Executive Management of Growth and Development, I think you've got an answer on the road.
So through the chair, in relation to the road reserve in relation to Clark Street, that's not proposed to be closed at this stage. That would remain in its current form. The EOI process would only relate to the council-owned portion to the north of that road.
So, a question to.
Yes.
So, if a development application was put in, council would expect, I would assume that council would expect that the developer would do something with the road reserve to provide access to the block.
Through the chair, that is something that would need to be considered as part of a proposal to
Whatever the
council.
proposal is. yeah.
Correct, yeah. But at this stage, it's not proposed to be closed or to be sold.
One more question, the road reserve on the northern end? I think it's a road reserve.
Through the chair, it appears that that road reserve is actually closed. But again, it's not proposed to be sold as part of this proposal.
And do we own that as well?
Through the chair, I believe not, no.
We know who does.
I would have to take that on notice.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon?
That's pretty low-lying area. Water. Is it in a problem area if we get too much water again or rain? How's the drainage and all the rest of it? Because it has been known that area to be pretty soft. So anything built on it or anything like that, or even put it up for sale, it's going to raise some questions.
The Director for Infrastructure?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, but also
Mitchell?
consult with the Executive Planner. I'm unaware of the flood prone land in that area. Nick, do you have information on that? Something that the developer would all have to obviously consider in their due diligence, or whoever purchases the land in their due diligence. But Nick, sorry, over to you.
Through the chair, the land does fall away to the east, and down near that sort of creek area. I don't believe it becomes flood inundated, but I believe that there is some issue in terms of the sogginess of the land. So any proposal that came before council would need to take the appropriate investigations in relation to that portion of land to ensure that the development's not impacted as a result of flood inundation or otherwise.
Any more debate or questions? That's the case. I'll move the, sorry,
We'll
Councillor
say
Worth.
something. Just in terms of the zoning, it's currently rural. Just would it be beneficial to rezone the area before selling the land to
Executive Manager, Growth and Development.
Through the chair, this proposal is basically seeking to go to an EOI. The land is currently zoned R2 low density residential. We understand that the person has made an approach to council is seeking to rezone the land to mixed use under the Chimid LEP. We're of the view that council would seek independent valuations on that land on its highest and best use. But I don't believe at this stage council would want to take on the risk and the expense of undertaking a planning proposal. And also too, given the costs associated with that, there's also a lead time frame of about 12 months to rezone the land.
Thank you.
One more question.
Sorry, Councillor Packard.
I think it's really important to note that this is the main entrance to Tumut as you come in from the main feeder road. So anything that we do here is going to impact on the look and feel of the entire town. It's a landmark piece of land. This is more a comment than a question. So in selling it, and seeing this through to, if something comes out of it through the fruition, we would have to, as a council, continue to be absolutely on guard that it is done right and in keeping with the town.
Councillor Hayes.
The services through there, can you explain what they are? The orange and the red services?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, there is a service easement through there. So there's sewer and stormwater drainage, but there's also above ground power lines as well.
Are they marked in that?
They're marked. The idea is for any future development of land, that there would be an easement created for those.
Thank you.
Councillor Sheldon.
I'll just follow on from Councillor Packard's comments. There was a councillor, Councillor Audrey McKenzie. she would concur with councillor Packard. She saw that as an ideal place for a replica, life-size replica of the Spirit of Australia. So just sort of things to bear in mind, that she did follow along what councillor Packard thought, that we have to be very conscious of that entrance, that we don't.
Yeah, thank you.
Just, yeah, just a thought I had before.
Councillor Words.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
I'm just going to
Well,
say.
it's a debate, or is it a
Just a
debate or
thought, I was just a question actually. Was this
a
considered?
question? Great.
I have to specify, is a question. Was this considered in the location for the evacuation centre / multi-purpose centre? Has this been considered?
For you, Madam Mayor, not that I'm aware of. So there's been no formal investigation or proposal to put the evacuation centre on this site.
Would this be an issue? Does this location have any issues associated with that proposal?
I'd foreshadow similar issues to the site on the hill near the hospital here, without knowing what the geology is down there, but it's a steeply sloping site. So I'd foreshadow there would be buildability issues on this site, along with the issues that have already been raised in relation to possible flood-prone land and water inundation on the site. So, but yes, in answer to your question, we haven't formally investigated this site at all as part of that process.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Hayes, would you like to close debate?
No, I think we'll just put the motion.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Would somebody? Thank you.
I'll get Jess.
Planning.
We're up to 11.2.
Can I know the late report, but can I just move three motions? One, the same. One will remain the same. Endorse proceeding with application for the Chairman Aerodrome water supply.
No, we're on to 11.2 at the moment, Councillor Ryder.
That is 11.5.
Jump one ahead.
Oh, he is right. Sorry. I beg your pardon.
Is that right?
Yep, I'm wrong. You're
right. So one remains the same. Two.
Oh, I see what you're doing. Yep.
Two. So proceed with application for extension.
Okay, so we're number one you're okay with.
Number one I'm okay with. Number two will be
the further consideration.
The further consideration of the Tumut Aerodrome hangar application. You can leave that as it is, but then a new sentence.
New point.
New point. Or well, in the same sentence, but just full stop.
After you see what Jeannie's doing after round two.
After round two, and then proceed with application and extension. With application for extension and upgrade of Tumut Aerodrome in accordance with resolution M268/23.
A little bit slower there.
In accordance with resolution M268/23.
Point of order.
And then 3, new point.
So the 3 we've got there, you want that to be turned to the 4?
Endorse proceeding with application for the specialist tractor and mulcher.
So not defer.
Not defer, endorse.
Okay, so that's the motion that Councillor has put. Oh, sorry.
Proceeding with the specialist
with the specialist tractor
and mulcher application.
Yep.
So
Are these being put as one motion?
They can be.
Can be separate.
Is there?
Councillor Packard, you'd like them to be considered separately?
I think, yes, please.
Okay.
I'd just like to know what the resolution
Could I-
268.
That's why I wanted.
Yeah, I can tell you what that is.
No, we'll be going into committee about this. If we could just get the motion sorted and then we can do this properly. So we've got these three recommendations.
Second.
Everyone happy with that? Do we have a seconder for these three recommendations?
Can we separate them?
So we can move each one separately. So do I have a mover for recommendation 1?
I'll move that.
It's just a motion without a seconder at this point.
Oh, I beg your pardon. It's a point of clarification. What was that?
So I think councillor Works was happy to move point 1. So the seconder as a totality, the councillor Works was in favour to move point 1.
So councillor Works, happy to move point 1.
Point 1, I'm happy to move to endorse proceeding with application of the chairman Aerodrome.
Shall we deal with that one first?
Sure.
Okay. So we've got councillor Larder and councillor Works. Point 1 we're discussing. That's all we're discussing at the moment. Okay, so councillor Larder, is there any, do you want to speak to this?
Madam Mayor, may I suggest that we move into committee with the discussion on.
Just a bit.
I think we might.
I'm just a bit worried where we are with the motion.
Because I think there might be.
You're happy just to do number 1 first?
You only need it for a second.
Oh, we can move into committee to discuss it, because
it.
at this stage, we've
Discuss
only
the
got a
whole
mover
three.
and the seconder for the
Then would we
For number 1.
number 1.
Okay, so we're moving, councillor Thompson's moved to go into committee. Have we got a seconder?
Item number 1.
Councillor Larder. Okay. Councillor Thompson, go for it.
No, I'm happy for the general discussion. The concern that I have with the recommendation as put by councillor Larder is that we have absolutely no understanding of the implications or the impacts on the overall project that has already been accepted and is in relation to the aerodrome. So it's words without any substance.
Councillor Larder?
Yeah, look, I'm happy to elaborate on what's been put there. So, look, essentially, back in December of 2023, Council resolved to upgrade the airport under what was option 3 from the report, which was to a code 2B non-instrument approach at a cost of 11.95 million, with a further resolution, which is what is quoted there, which says, subject to further funding, undertake work towards acquiring additional land for the extension of the runway at the Tumut Aerodrome as identified in option 5 of the consultant's report by Aviation Projects. Now, option 5 is the upgrade to a code 2B airport with an instrument non-precision approach with an extension of 240 metres to the existing runway, which was quoted at 14.7 million initially. So what I'm proposing is that that money that has been earmarked for an asset at Tumut Airport being a hangar, we've got it on record that the opportunity to get the helicopter from RFS here has long since gone. The horse bolted. The Assistant Commissioner, Kyle Stewart, said that it will not be based at Tumut. So I can't see why we're building a hangar to house something that's not coming here. So the reality is they have some security issues around the infrastructure that's on board that helicopter. It needs to have a security guard when it's off-site from its normal home because of the military-grade technology that's on board for FLIR and infrared. Now, this helicopter has no ability to fight fires other than to detect them. And it does have rescue capacity, but my intimate knowledge of rescue would advise that it won't be used primarily as a rescue helicopter because it's not being funded as one, and New South Wales Ambulance would not be involved in it. So it really and truly is just a helicopter that can look for fires. Now, the thing that worries me is that we've got an operator out at this airport already, True North Helicopters, who is a local company with local people, that there should be investment in locally before we start looking to outsource these opportunities to someone else. Now, the RFS are essentially building themselves a mini air force at great cost to the community. They are buying assets with government money and they are refurbishing them at great cost. There should be an independent inquiry into what's going on here. And then they are outsourcing the operation and management of those assets to overseas companies, and the money is all going offshore to places like Canada instead of supporting local people who we should be supporting. And I don't know why governments aren't. Now, True North Helicopters have a specifically built helicopter from the factory in France that was built to fight fires. That's what they do. That's their business. And we should be supporting them to fight fires locally rather than outsourcing it or building a hangar that might have a helicopter in it once or twice a year during a fire. It's better to have that operational capability on the ground and capacity to protect our assets rather than having an empty hangar. And I mean, even if the aircraft was in there, you can't do anything. It's not going to go out bombing and fighting the fire. So it's a complete white elephant. And the RFS, you know, they showed their hand earlier by moving that asset across to Cooma. And I don't believe that we should be investing in a hangar here before we support local business and before that money is invested in the local runway, because that local runway upgrade, as is indicated in that resolution that's already been approved by council, will actually provide operational benefit to the community, because those aeroplanes will now be able to take off with full capacity of water. Now, that infrastructure to get the water out there is essential, and then we need to be able to fill them up to their full capacity to take off. Now, under the previous approval that we undertook in December, I don't believe that to be the case. This will ensure that we can use those aeroplanes to their full capacity so that we have the best opportunity to protect the softwoods working industry and our livelihood going into the future. It's a great insurance policy and it supports local business. We'll get all the flow-on effects from having an upgraded airport, whether they be emergency services in the middle of the night, whether it be expansion to places like Visy or Snowy Hydro or whoever else wants to use them, and perhaps even down the line, maybe even a regular commuter transport aircraft coming into Tumut to take passengers all over the state or even all over the country. Who knows?
Thank you, Councillor Larder. Thank you. Councillor Packard?
I agree. The building would be a white elephant almost from day one, and the cost of just insuring it and depreciating it would be far cheaper for us to pay the best security guards to come and guard a helicopter if ever it does come. So that to me, that's a no-brainer, and somehow or other the money can be put to better use. Sadly, extending the airport is going to be such a horrendous problem because you're running into at least 12, potentially 14 people's titles tied in with the Tumut River Orchard Estate. Tumut River Orchard Estate is not a normal development. It has housing, which is then tied to a piece of agricultural land. And you're wanting to put a runway straight through this agricultural land, which has to be tied back to the title for the people to have their houses. So you would have a fight with each and every one of those 12 people about breaking that nexus between the things that actually give them the right to have housing out there. I could just see us getting bogged down in legal costs that would take all the money and we get no benefit from it because we probably wouldn't succeed in getting to do that. So sadly, I don't know that supporting it to that part of the motion to get an extended runway would actually deliver anything.
Councillor
Have you
Sheldon?
finished,
Yeah.
Councillor Packer? Look, first of all, I've got to say, the presentation we were given this morning was fantastic.
Yeah.
It does ensure our surrounding areas. It does provide us, I suppose, with a little bit of surety. But the thing that's concerned me, which I brought up the other night, there's no overall master plan. We're just building this thing one off. No one has actually put together a master plan with a business plan or something next to it. So we as councillors can take into consideration and say, hey, this is going to work, that's going to work. We've got the problems with the lots of land down at the end of the runway. We've got the original concept of the Aero Park. And again, we're just looking back and saying, hey, great idea, let's build it. We need a rule. If we're going to spend or invest the taxpayers' money on these projects, we have to really show some due diligence in there and present or deliver a project that is going to be worthwhile for the region, both fire protection wise and be commercially viable. And I would really like to see a master plan.
Councillor Sheldon, I might just direct your comments to Mr. Mitchell, the Director of Infrastructure.
Oh, yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Sheldon, we do have a master plan for the aerodrome. The issue is that the master plan doesn't make provision for this hangar proposal. So the hangar proposal is straight out of the blue, if you like, so it doesn't fit in with the master plan. The master plan does have provision in it for the current option that we're progressing with for the aerodrome upgrade, option 3. It does have provision in it for the fire control centre, which the RFS are proposing to build out at the aerodrome, but it doesn't have provision for this hangar. Okay, so that's beyond the master plan at this stage.
Does it have provision for the power, the water supply?
Not the water, the dedicated water supply is also not included in the master plan.
I think before we make a real big decision on, we can do a general agreement, but we need to see with that sort of investment. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to say yes or no unless it is there in front of me and I can see it where they overlap. I understand what Mr. Mitchell is saying, but there's no proviso. If there's not a proviso, that's fine, but give us the overlay so we can actually see what is planned with a backed up business plan or commercial plan next to it. Because it is a lot of money to be spent with, as you pointed out the other day, very little return except for people's peace of mind. And that includes the original grant and this new money. I agree with both of them, but we need to be able to have a plan to put it together. And if there's no plan, it's going to end up like it's going to end up a white elephant.
Thanks, Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to remind everyone, as was pointed out to us this morning, this is not about us approving the projects. This is simply about us asking or giving permission and support to the organisation to apply for the actual grants. So what they're asking for us to do today is to support them, as the grant needs to be submitted by the 22nd of October. So if we don't approve it today, and remembering that this is based on the meetings that they've had up until this point, and their working group identified where they wanted. So if we don't acknowledge these projects, then they're not going to have time to scope another project in order to put in for that grant application, which closes on the 22nd. That's the first point that I'd like to say. Having said that, the concern that I have raised with these projects is the fact that once they become council's infrastructure, and we then become responsible for the ongoing cost, including the insurance, the maintenance, the management, the depreciation, then for us, we don't have any external money that we can draw on at this point, which means that as a council, we would have to choose where that funding for those ongoing costs would come from. That's a concern that I have, but we would have 6 weeks from the time the application goes in before they actually ask us to agree. The other point that I would raise a concern is in relation to the proposal as put by Councillor Larter, is that we currently have on resolution the agreed to scenario or plan or project in relation to out at the current aerodrome, which identifies the extension of the apron to enable more planes to be up there. So if we change it now, then we go back, would be my opinion, is that we would then have to start from scratch almost in relation to the negotiations of what would be required in relation to that development. We basically put a halt to what we're doing because it doesn't fit in with the new proposal as put by Councillor
Would
Larter.
we be able to have right of reply from Mr. Mitchell on what Councillor Thompson said?
Okay, yes, in response through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Thompson. Yes, we are currently out to tender in the market at the moment right now for the resolution of Council of December 23, which is for the upgrade of the upgrade of the aerodrome for option 3. Which involves, as we all know, and Councillor Thompson made a comment about it, the parallel taxiway, the extension of the runway at both ends, but within our boundary, to avoid the property issues that have also been alluded to so far, and also the upgrade of the aerodrome's lighting and pavement, complete pavement upgrade. And widening of the runway as well to facilitate Medivac now as well services, but also the fire services through the air tractor and the other aircraft that use it at the moment for firefighting facilities. So that's my response to Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Councillor Hayes.
Thank you. Council has a motion on the books on the 14th of December 23, which is not that long ago, that we acquire that extra land, and we're well on the way to doing that. So I think most of that work has been completed, hasn't been resolved, but we didn't have the funds. Now, I do note that the Regional Airports Program Round 4 funding closes in 32 days. Now, I think we also had noted that we would apply for that if we had the funds available to match the 50%. So a lot of the ducks are lining up. It's just that there's not a lot of time. So we've resolved to buy the land if the funds become available. 50% of the funds are available here. And there may be other funds available through this other.
Would you like a report to that nature to come to the 31st?
You've got 32 days.
I just want to
Less than 32 days.
Yeah.
just want to try and get.
Sorry. Just asking Councillor Hayes.
So
would you?
So this, and when Councillor Sheldon talks about, a plan, there's a plan there.
Yeah.
There's a plan there to purchase the land if the funds become available.
Thank you.
So that's the plan.
Just quickly, 17 million was the funds required to do that plan. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Watts, to extend the runway as per option 5, like fully to the north by some 230 metres, was going to cost an additional $17 million.
Over the top of the 10 million?
Over the top of the current cost of the runway. So that's simply because it went into the flood-prone land, and the whole runway had to be engineered over flood-prone land. And then on top of that, you had the property acquisitions that have been alluded to by Councillor. Okay.
So even if this funding of 3.85 million was used to, plus the 50% from the regional airport fund was acquired, you'd still be short.
Significantly short on the construction. The possibility that the funding could be used for acquisition is probably more realistic.
Acquisition of the land.
Yeah.
Yep.
but it's not our grant.
Okay.
I was just-
But
That's the thing.
what they're debating is whether this money from the grant could be swapped around from a hangar to land acquisition.
I think that'd
Yep.
be, I just would like to say that would probably be a better option, considering that the hangar, building the hangar wouldn't actually benefit the aerodrome in the sense that there's already a hangar with True North. The bulk water supply is designed for planes, not helicopters, which is what they told us this morning. Really, it's just to basically potentially house an RFS helicopter on site at the RFS base that they're going to be building. Would this money be, and this is what they've come up with in the space of a month or a couple of months since they've received this potential $12.9 million from the state government. I think the land acquisition, whether that's the land for the third plan or whether it's for the second plan, to extend out into the Orchard Estate. The other option with the Orchard Estate is if you are going to do a new LEP, that could be changed into a large lot residential, which is a 5,000 square meters of block sizes. There's 6,000 square meters, which is what the report said that Dave Sheldon had. And then the 1 hectare strips of land, which is the Orchard Estate's made up of, or that could be then recombined into a block once you've if you've put the runway out an extra 230 meters, you could then rezone that block and sell it off to make the capital back as a fully functional farming land, as opposed to individual blocks. That's if you could get that through in terms of buying the land around the airport. So,
And the time factor there. Councillor Lata. Thank you, Councillor Wirtz.
Thanks. I'll just make the point, look, that is a resolution of council. It exists. Councillor Thompson was the mover of that, and Councillor Ivel seconded it. 1, proceed with option 3, upgraded code 2, non-instrument, no RESA as recommended in the consultant's options analyst report. And 2, subject to further funding, which this is an opportunity for further funding, undertake work towards acquiring additional land for the extension of the runway at the Tumut Aerodrome as identified in option 5 of the consultant's report by Aviation Projects. Now, Mr. Mitchell has muddied the waters here a little bit because of the flooding. Now, the flooding was never an issue initially under the previous Director of Infrastructure because it wasn't seen as an issue. There's one house. There's one house. It's a 1 in 100 year, 10 mil chance that this house is going to flood. So we need to, do some further reporting on that. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. It might not be that, but we already have a resolution on the books.
Thank you.
To do this.
I understand. Councillor Thompson.
I just want to clarify the reference that Councillor Lata has made in relation to me moving and Councillor seconding. The original motion that we moved was the first point. The second point was added on afterwards. And as you've seen, as it goes around with the discussion and debate, is that you move a motion and then somebody adds something else and they say, is that in agreement with the mover and the seconder? That was not in the original motions that were put before us, and it was something that was added later. The reality is we have option 3 before us, and I don't think that the owner of that home would be terribly happy to think that we disregarded so much considering they were there, that we're just happy to flood their property.
But we're happy to burn another 500.
I'd just say that there's 200 houses lost in the 1920 fires, and just on this front, there was 800 down the coast. I mean, you've got to take a big picture view.
100%.
If we don't take the necessary actions to prevent another bushfire, more than one house would be damaged.
Option 3 does.
Option 3 does not.
But does it go far enough?
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, no, I'm not moving out at the moment. If you don't, this needs to be debated. I mean, this is serious stuff. We're talking about.
I was wondering if we could actually hear from the interim general manager for his opinion.
Well, look, I haven't really got any opinion on the debate that's been going on. This is a matter for councillors, I think. I think my report is really around the 3 projects that have been put forward. I think the first project around the water supply line is a very good project and should be supported. It's a matter of council as to, I I would agree with most of the sentiments that I'm not sure that the hangar is such a great project, but it's really a matter for council to determine whether they wish to advise that they want to put up an alternate project in place of the hangar.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
Could I suggest that we take on board the ones we want and we go back and have further dialogue with the softwood industry, and we put some of the cases up about the hangar and raise the concerns that Councillor Larter has done?
Just the timeframe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would definitely do
Well,
it.
I just would like to say, I think what Stephen said about the first and the third motion, that we put those forward, and that the second one, that motion be gone back into dialogue to actually use that funding for reports that have already been established, whether that's land acquisition. If there's already a report there.
We could defer point number 2 to a councillor workshop, so we could unpack it.
Yeah, we have the time frame before the 22nd of October though.
No.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, we don't.
No.
Councillor Larter.
Can I just say, look, this is really crazy stuff. I mean, we've got a region that is absolutely affected by fire. This has been identified as a way of mitigating that risk. We've got the Softwoods Working Group, who are the main player in all this, have got the most to lose, because if we lose the softwoods in this community, it's buggered. The economic viability of it's stuffed. So, I mean, here we have a motion on the books. It's been approved to acquire land if funding becomes available. We've got an opportunity to go back to them and say, listen, we've got this on the books. This will improve the capability and capacity of our region to mitigate the risk of fire. Do you support it? If they don't, they don't. But it's already on the books. We're not going to lose anything. It's not our money.
So the plan to duplicate the taxiway and all that sort of stuff, can it coexist with extending the runway? Is it either or the two can be
Director of
done?
Infrastructure.
You through, Madam Mayor. Yeah, no, look, proceeding with option 3 as we are at the moment doesn't preclude any future extension of the runway. All that precludes the future extension of the runway is the cost and the flood mitigation works, the property acquisition.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with us saying we want to do this. We just may not be achievable.
And that is the intent of the resolution that Councillor Larter keeps referring back to. And it was made clear at that meeting too, that if funding ever became available, the current option we've got on the books, we're designing, we're out to tender for at the moment, could include that in the future, anytime in the future. So the current option we're going to build does not preclude any future extensions to that runway if money was to become available.
So I was just going to say, do we have any costing on the land acquisition? Do we know how much it would cost? And would that 3.5 million be better spent on that land acquisition?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, the money that we have allowed for, or we've budgeted for that land acquisition would be covered in the money that is currently being put up for the hangar. It wouldn't cover any of the construction works of the runway.
But we could get future funding.
Councillor Larter, and then I'll close.
Can I just say though that you cannot apply for grants realistically in a timely fashion for property you don't own. So there is no opportunity beyond this. I mean, unless you've got that land tied up and we own it. I mean, it might be 5 years before we extend the runway. But if you don't own the land, you've got no way of looking at grants, and you don't know what's going to happen from election to election. I mean, money may become available, it may not. But unless you own it, you've got no capacity to do that. So this is really and truly an opportunity that should not be missed if we're concerned about the future safety of the community and the economic sustainability of the softwoods industry into the future.
Right, can I have someone move to go out of committee?
May I speak?
You may, Councillor Hayes.
I agree with Councillor Larter, and the very intention was to purchase the land and then go forward. You know, you can't do anything without the land, and if the opportunity came up, our local member sent that information through to us. I made the council aware of the grant that it was coming up. We had a motion on the book. I'm sort of disappointed that nothing's been done towards that line. But what I really wanted to ask is, if we're taking water to the airport, why are we not taking potable water? I know it's 3 kilometres longer, but why aren't we taking potable water from Tumut, take it all the way along there and sell it on the way and sell it to the Orchard Estate? Why would we choose to have another pump on the river, another filtration system and another pipeline?
Infrastructure is good.
You can't pump it quick enough.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Look, I can't answer that question, Councillor. I don't know why potable water hasn't been considered. It's at the moment, as I understand, Steve and Pennick may be able to shed some light on it. It's only raw water.
It's always been a proposal, and it was a proposal from the fire. Councillor Ham will agree. Councillor Lada, it's always been go for potable water, and then suddenly we're surprised by raw water. It just
What would be the?
It's not a really.
My understanding was it was the volume of water that's needed.
No,
it has to be
They have storage on. They're going to have storage facilities for the water on
storage facilities there. Yeah,
site. Yeah.
Plane only takes a ton or two of water. It's only 1,000 odd litres, like what do they carry, John?
I think it's in the order of about 1,200 litres or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's enough. Committee, can I have someone move? We're going out of committee. Councillor Lada, Councillor Sheldon, thank you. We're going to look at resolution number 1. Endorse proceeding with application of the Tumut Aerodrome water supply for fire management. Do I have a mover?
It's already been moved.
Oh, it's been moved. So it was moved by Councillor Lada and sorry, and Councillor Works. Councillor Lada, do you want to say anything on that? Happy if we put it?
Well, I'm happy for you to put it, but I think that Councillor Hayes's comment should be taken as an operational backdrop to that about, you know, what the cost is to extend that beyond, and if that could come back to council. I mean, that could come out of the water fund, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, all in favour? Unanimous. Okay. Now, I need a mover for recommendation 2. Councillor Lada.
Well, my version of number 2. Or you?
Well, I'm looking at this version. But that's okay. Do you want to change the wording on it?
What did I have there before? What? It's gone. Well, at that number 1 there, I've moved that. I don't know if there's a seconder for it. That's in relation to purchasing of the land.
I was looking here.
Under the resolution that's already on the books.
Defer the.
I think that's his number 2.
That should be number 2.
That's number 2. Okay. Defer consideration of the Tumut Aerodrome hangar application until further information is available through a potential round 2.
What's the number 3?
And proceed with application for extension and upgrade of the Tumut Aerodrome in accordance to resolution.
Isn't the intent, sorry, Madam Mayor, I think the intent is that then to
use that
suggest
money.
or to say to the Softwood Working Group that money, rather than being used for that.
Yeah,
This is where.
and that's not coming through in that
No,
recommendation.
that's not coming through in that.
Councillor Lada, are you happy with?
I'm happy for you to reword it so that,
Yeah.
you know,
So proceed with the application.
and request the Softwoods Working Group consider an alternate application. Maybe before proceed, request.
Okay, so we're just listening. If you wouldn't mind, Director of Infrastructure, Mr. Mitchell's got some words.
Councillor, maybe where you've got proceed with application for extension and upgrade in accordance with resolution, which includes land acquisition.
Yeah, well,
because that's the intent of your resolution back then, which includes land acquisition. And then we're clear back to the Softwoods Working Group that we're not proceeding with a hangar, we're looking at land acquisition.
and before proceed, request
Extend
Request the Softwoods Working Group.
We're on to a new one.
No, it's instead of proceed,
Yeah, request
the software.
surfing group, yeah.
Proceed with land acquisition. At the end of land acquisition to extend the runway.
Yeah, yes, okay, to extend the runway.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that?
Well, hang on, it doesn't quite make much sense.
Councillor Packard?
Yeah,
Can we
we think about that for a minute.
just that
Sure.
That doesn't make sense.
defer consideration of the Tumut Aerodrome?
That's fine. Request the Softwoods Working Group proceed with applications for extension.
Needs a comma.
It's more the Softwoods Working Group apply that funding to the application.
Say, request the Softwoods Working Group proceed with the application.
And we're going
The
to
extension of the Tumut runway. I suppose we'll say aerodrome.
You're asking them to reconsider their application for a hangar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To reconsider the application for the construction of a hangar
In lieu
to the extension of the runway.
So instead of defer, yes, over to the interim general manager, the wordsmith.
No, well, not the wordsmith, but look, can I just suggest that we try and simplify it by just saying that council not support making application for a hangar and that seek Softwoods Working Group endorsement to make application for funding to acquire the land to extend the runway in the future.
Okay, I think we better go gently on Jeannie here. That council not support the Tumut Aerodrome hangar application.
Yep.
Full stop.
And seek
Maybe.
Softwoods Working Group endorsement of an application to facilitate the acquisition of additional land for the future extension of the runway.
Sure, she got all that.
That's
where you need
That's right, Jenny, the acquisition
Siri.
of land. The acquisition of land for the future extension of the runway.
Oh,
Sorry,
Where did you go?
on an application.
Application.
is that
To
To
facilitate the acquisition, to facilitate
motion?
the acquisition of
Yeah,
land
that'll be the two.
for the future extension of the runway. Let's see if that makes sense. Yeah, no, it doesn't quite make sense. Yeah.
Okay, Steve, it reads that council not support the Tumut Aerodrome hangar application
Yep.
and seek Softwoods Working Group endorsement of an application to facilitate the acquisition of land for the future extension of the runway.
Sounds like
Yep.
we're putting in the application.
Yeah.
Well, we are putting in the application. We're the applicant.
Where the
Yeah, but
applicants.
we've probably got to get their endorsement because
Well,
it's materially different.
And
to
well,
what-
they should
we've got
support-
seek
support the
Softwoods Working Group
application.
endorsements.
Well, I've asked for endorsement in there.
Councillor Inglis?
Yeah, to say, I'll just read, the council not support this and councils. Oh, endorsement's probably enough. Yeah. Yes, no, that's fine.
Thank you. Councillor Lada, you happy with
Hap-
that? Happy with that? Okay, now we've got it, Nita's,
That
so
goes
that's
to
the-
two.
that goes to 2. And we need a seconder?
You need to refer to that resolution in that line.
And do it's M268-23.
I don't think that's
No,
necessary.
I think we understand.
Councillor Lada needs a seconder.
No.
Councillor Packer. Okay, I open that to debate. Everyone said all their words?
I'll actually speak against it unless
That's it.
somebody wants to speak to it.
No,
first.
you're welcome to.
The concern that I have is that what was being put before us and put to us has been developed following a long process by an input from a lot of different agencies and people who are the ones who are advising. I think we all agree that we don't feel that the hangar is either a good use of money, and it's also going to be an enormous cost to this council in the medium and long term. So the hangar is not a feasible thing for us. However, I think by us changing it without having had that input with the group is going to put them on the back foot, because applications close on the 22nd. We're on Thursday afternoon, and it's going to be a hard push. So I just feel that at times when we make these decisions and don't understand the background of a report, or having the advantage of a report behind it, that's when we start making decisions without understanding the full implications of our decision.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Sheldon.
Well, look, I said very similar to Councillor Thompson earlier, and I just worry about the weight, because that to me is coming through like a sledgehammer without any discussion with the people that were here this morning putting it up. And I really do think there's a lot of weight behind that, which they might take it the wrong way.
Councillor Latta.
Well, look, unfortunately, these organisations are only as good as the information they're receiving, and when they're being informed by cartels that they, want to build these massive infrastructure projects to house their mini air forces, well, sorry, we own the land. It's the Tumut Snowy Valleys Council land. We're the owner, we're the operator, and we've already resolved at a previous meeting to acquire that land for all the purposes that we've just listed. None of those can be questioned by the community. They are all authentic, they're all genuine, and they all meet the needs and responsibilities that we have as councillors towards the economic viability and the safety of our community. So, I mean, nobody could question that. It's just a lay down misere as far as I'm concerned. It's just something that we must do. And the community will not be upset about this. This is good governance.
Thank you for closing the debate. Councillor Latta, I put the motion. All those in favour? So Packard, Hayes, Latta, Inglis, Hardwick, Wirtz. Against? Thompson, Sheldon. Thank you. Now on to point 3. Endorse proceedings with specialist tractor and mulcher grant application. Do I have a mover?
Yeah.
Councillor Latta, Councillor Sheldon.
Why are we deferring it? Can I just ask?
No, we're endorsing.
No.
We're endorsing.
No, the one that got put up.
Point.
Councillor Latta, do you want to speak to it? You're good?
No, once again, they've obviously identified that this is a need in the community, and I think it'll reduce the footprint of out of control grass that is quite often a problem under power lines and all the other usual settings that we have problems with. So roads, I think it's a sensible move. We're obviously outsourcing this at the moment, so it's an opportunity to bring it back in house, and perhaps even an opportunity for further management of private lands, that we could perhaps build some capacity in.
Anyone else want to speak to this? If not,
I think the report's self-explanatory.
thank you, Councillor Sheldon. Put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Well done. Okay, that brings us to 11.3. So that's a recommendation about the Southern Regional Planning Panel membership.
I'll move the 5 recommendations with the inclusions of councillors Hugh and Councillor Packard. I'm thinking Hughes, Councillor Packard and Councillor Sheldon as the councillor representatives.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Latta. Councillor Thompson, do you want to speak to it?
I need to thank them for putting their hand up, and you may or may not get called in to do it, but thank you for the offer to be there.
Any other speakers? I put the motion, the 5 points. All those in favour? Unanimous. Cycle 11.4, sorry, councillor Hayes. You want me to go slowly? No?
I'm ahead of you.
Come on. Cycle Tumbarumba licence agreement report for new toilet facility in Council Road Reserve, moved by councillor Hayes and seconded by councillor Sheldon. Councillor Hayes, do you want to speak to it?
Yes, there's nothing worse than being on a bicycle and not having a toilet around, so I'm sure this will be great for them.
Thank you. Councillor Sheldon.
I would just like, I agree with everything, so I'd just like further explanation of licence agreement.
Through you,
Director
Madam
of
Mayor.
Infrastructure.
So the reason we have to unfortunately require a licence agreement is it's being built on our land. Therefore, technically, the asset will belong to us.
Thanks for the question. Okay, I put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So 11.5, Snorri Hydro's 75th anniversary monument project at Cancoban. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hayes. Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Hayes, would you like to speak to the motion?
Absolutely. I think this is a great idea. And in fact, it's an idea that we've been floating with Snowy Hydro for Tumut for the last 20 years. So
wow.
I'm glad that Cancoban's finally got a start. But, you know, certainly if they have a spare one, we could bring one down to Tumut.
They're easily put on the back of a truck. Okay. Any other speakers? Okay, I put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 11.6, Adelong Community Aquatic Centre Management Expressions of Interest. Do I have someone move the one recommendation?
I'll move that.
A seconder? Councillor Larder. Councillor Hayes, do you want to speak to the motion?
Yeah, look, I was very disappointed that this didn't get a start. Disappointed in that the expression of interest that went out in no way reflected what it was meant to reflect. It was meant to go out to my notes have disappeared. It was meant to go out where there was it was free, and our expression of interest linked the fees and charges. It was meant that the hours of operation were 60 hours a week and ours went out different. And the other intention was that council was to pay the operator, and in this case, $2,500 a week to run the pools, and that didn't go out in it as well. So it's really disappointing when you've got a vision for something and what actually appears in the newspaper, and in this case, a Melbourne Daily and the Sydney Morning Herald. You know, this was I envisaged someone locally applying to this. So I would have thought, you know, an article in the newspaper saying, here's an opportunity for somebody who's been a young person who's been working at the pool for the last few years, who has all the necessary ability. They will be able to work at the pool. They'll be able to be responsible for it. They will employ other like-minded people. They will keep the proceeds of the canteen and the swimming lessons, and it's a good little business. But more importantly, it saves council a huge amount of money and administration time. But it wasn't to be, and that's my disappointment, because it's a simple process. It works very well in Jerilderie, in Collyamberley, and in Darlington Point, and towns similar to Adelong. It just fitted the bill, and if it had been successful, it could have then been moved on to other pools. And I think this is probably the way we need to go. If we're looking at saving money, here's an option, and it's an option that hasn't been embraced.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Any other speakers? Councillor Thompson.
I hear what councillor Hayes is saying, and I think herein lies the issue when we move something that we don't fully understand what the request is, and we haven't had a report that actually outlines what is wanted. And I think the opportunity is here is that we had already passed the fees and charges and the operating hours. We now have an entire season leading up to the next year to actually find out what the actual model that councillor Hayes would like to have looked at, and to work with the community. And it gives us a whole season to even tap someone on the shoulder if they're interested in looking at that. But we need to fully understand, and as a council, we didn't have the information before us as to what the expression of interest was going to include. And I know councillor Ham, you were the one who also felt that at the time. So while it may be disappointing at this point, we do have a season. We've got the opportunity to develop what that expression of interest will look like. We have the opportunity, before we develop the budget for next year in relation to the fees and charges, to actually be able to work this so that we understand, and those who may wish to put in an expression of interest also understand what the cost or what the potential is, and it's not going to impact on our fees and charges that we had already accepted and put out and resolved.
Thank you, councillor Thompson. Any other speakers? Councillor Sheldon?
Looking at the expenses, it should ring alarm bells at everyone. If you look at the expenses, the budget overspend is more than the revenue received. Now, that to me is an alarm bell that we've got to really think the way we're doing this. And councillor Hayes is probably right. When we send out for expressions of interest, if we go down that track, we have to work out some models that we have to follow, because that's just another example of why we're leaking money every day.
Thank you, councillor Sheldon. Councillor Larter?
Well, look, I think in fairness to councillor Hayes, I'm not sure that there was a lot of interaction with him in relation to what was going out when there probably should have been. I think they just cut and paste from some other council, and then.
I think we have to be careful how we talk about staff, councillor Larter.
I'm not talking about the staff. I'm just saying, you know, that's the reality of what happened. I mean, you know, it went in the Sydney Morning Herald. I mean, we didn't discuss that it was going to go in the Sydney Morning Herald. I mean, who were they expecting to get from the Sydney Morning Herald? We don't even advertise for a general manager in the Sydney Morning Herald.
Councillor Hayes, would you like to close debate?
I will. And look, all councillors have a copy of the Murrumbidgee model. You know, I was happy to share that with anyone prior, but I didn't get the opportunity. So hopefully, you know, we're fair dinkum about saving money and providing good resources to the community, and our swimming pools are great resources, just underutilised. So what I'd like to do is have them more utilised and have them cost less money to council. That was the aim. Wasn't to be.
Thank you, councillor Hayes. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Note the report. Unanimous. Okay, 11.
Madam Mayor, sorry, before we move on.
No.
Clearly, there's more to the Murrumbidgee
No,
model.
I have to. It's been shut. Sorry, I've got to move on. It's been voted on.
I was going to put another motion. I can't add anything.
I can't. It's gone. We can put in another report next time.
Yeah, okay.
11.7, section 7.11, development contribution update, and draft section 7.12, development contribution plan 2024. There are at this moment 3 recommendations with a foreshadowed 4th.
Madam Mayor, yes. I'll move the
Councillor Thompson.
recommendations, and I believe that the minute taker has the wording for a 4th recommendation.
I think I've got it here.
She's typed it, I think.
You have typed it? Any capital works come back to council, subject to design coming back to council.
There it is there. I highlighted it. Do you want to go down, Jean? Under councillor Thompson, you've got it. Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
Note that the designs for the capital works items listed in this report are brought back to council for design approval before being implemented.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Packard? Councillor Thompson, do you want to speak to the motion?
It's interesting to read the background information that has come with this report as well, because it goes right back to Councillor Packard's original days on council in the late 90s and to some of us who were here in the early 2000s and going through. So, but I note that there were no Tumbarumba equivalents. So it's an interesting scenario, and we need to be really cognitive of when we're getting contributions made by people who are creating developments, that those funds are actually going to have the best impact on our community. And it's disappointing, I think, that there are no provisions at the moment for car parking, because I think that is an absolutely critical area within it. The reason that I've included that, or asked for that fourth point to be included, is that to have a standard comment, and I'd refer to point C, the $150,000 to Rotary Pioneer Park, Tumut recreation space for shade infrastructure, doesn't tell us anything at all. And, you know, this operational, we do the procedural side of passing the motions, and it's probably a little bit of what Councillor Hayes feels in relation to the pool, is that you pass the resolution and then it is interpreted in a different way. So we want to understand what those shade structures are going to look like, where they're going to be located. Is there the possibility for that to include planting of more trees as well? So that's why, in relation to these, and it is also supposed to be of benefit from the development that is giving them a better green space, open space, or amenities. So it's an important document. I'd encourage everyone to read it. I thank Councillor Armour. I thank Nancy Armour for her presentation earlier. She's very passionate about this. But thank you. And thank you, staff, for the comprehensive report.
This comprehensive report. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Sheldon.
I would just like to know, are these being used in the way that the policy stipulates they should be used?
I mean, 7.
Good question.
1.
Yeah, so
Well,
Director of Community Corporate.
I might refer that question to Mr. Wilson.
Through the chair, that is correct. So in council's accounts at the moment, we've got about $500,000 in restricted funds, which can only be spent towards projects identified within those plans. And that is correct. So the resolution seeks to resolve to allocate that funding in accordance with those plans to those projects. And then obviously when those projects get built into a capital works program, they'll be brought back to council for the design approval for actually being implemented.
Any other speakers?
Just to note that
Councillor Hayes.
it's pleasing to see Batley get a little start, but some of the other smaller towns missed out.
Is that a question for the Director of Infrastructure?
Just make it as an observation.
As an observation. Thank you. Any other comments?
With a tone of disappointment.
Physique.
Do you want to speak to that?
question in regards to the development of 7.12 from 7.11. What's the main difference between the two?
So section 711 plan effectively sets up a number of projects in which a nexus must be made between growth of the town, where those contributions are collected, and where the money is spent. 7.12 plans are usually used in regional areas where development growth is low. So you would have seen under the previous plan, we've basically generated $500,000 since 1997, where the expected revenue growth based on last year's figures will generate about $300,000 a year. So there's more income coming in, which should be able to offset some of the growth that's occurring in growth areas throughout the Shire. The other thing is too that the 711 plan as it stands at the moment only relates to the former Tumut Shire. The 712 plan will be the whole LGA wide.
Thank you.
So 712 plan, does that have to be directly related to the funding that's been accrued?
No, so it's
is
basically placed into a restricted fund, and then it can be spent across the Shire based on those projects.
Okay. It has to be related to the projects that the funding is received from.
Only in a 711.
But in 712,
In 712
it's
it's
unrestricted. So would it be better to all these projects that are going through, they're from a 7-Eleven plan, right?
Correct.
So was it possible to put that money straight into the 712 plan?
If councillors were of the view to do that, you could pull all that money and put it into the 712 plan and then roll it out to the 712 projects.
Sorry, a question, wouldn't that then break the nexus between the contributor and the funds and just say, well, we've taken this money from you to do something relating to your specific development, and now we're just going to use it
Correct.
wherever.
Right.
So
I think we're moving into committee here. Can I have someone move
yeah.
as words? Yep, continue.
I was just going to say that, you know, we've made $1.2 million in cuts to libraries and pools, and then we go spend 150,000 on shade cloth. Seems a bit, you know, a bit ridiculous.
Just to clarify, these are restricted funds, so council can't spend it on everyday sort of operations. It's very much restricted for the purpose it was raised for, essentially.
But in a 712 plan, they'd have more freedom to spend it on other projects.
The infrastructure, doesn't it?
It's still,
The local infrastructure contributions throughout the shire.
Other projects.
Other projects, yeah.
yeah.
They wouldn't have to draw from the general fund, which is usually spent on what it
Correct,
is in-
yeah, like the day-to-day operations. which is
Yes, so
what
that would
the
come out
savings
from
report, yeah.
like your staff hours in libraries and pools and things like that would come from the general fund.
Yeah,
So you
operational.
could free up, you know, other general fund expenses with this money that goes into the 712, because you don't have to spend it on the specific projects that were related to the original income from the funding from the projects that it generated, because it has to be associated with those projects. In the 711, in the 712, you can say, well, we can fund this other project without the restrictions there.
So basically, we're being asked to swap it over.
It's modernising existing contributions.
Right. So the question is this the best use of those funds? The question being asked.
It's a requirement, isn't it, with the contributions?
Correct.
Only under the 711 plan, but not under the 712.
We'd have to be able to link it as the infrastructure. I don't know.
Is there a potential to move the money into a 712 fund?
So through the chair, how it works at the moment is if somebody goes to subdivide their land in a residential area or a commercial area throughout the shire, and rural areas get levied as well, there is a set rate within council's fees and charges in which per lot that's created gets put into a restricted fund. What this is doing is under section 712 is it's actually expanding it to all types of development that is not residential related that's less than $100,000. So any type of development, so for instance, if you go and build a home that's worth say $500,000, anything above that $100,000 will be levied this contribution as a condition of consent. As growth occurs through the shire, council obviously levies those developments. Those levies are paid into an restricted account, and they're apportioned across the projects that are identified in this plan. If the projects that are identified in the plan are as a result of asset management plans that are developed by council. So that's the nexus between the two.
And this is for the new plan.
Question, in the past, who decided if it was a 711 or a 712 that got levied? Or did the two not operate simultaneously?
Through the chair, previously there wasn't a 712 plan.
Okay.
There was the council adopted two 711 plans, which one was for open space and one was specifically for roads, public roads. This creates flexibility across different infrastructure.
So are these in section 3, are these going through the 711 plan?
Correct.
They are. Is there any?
Another statement.
A statement.
The Snowy Valley's Regional Economic Development Strategy 2023 update, which I emailed to new councillors, said that our population rate had increased by 1.1%, which is encouraging despite the fact that, and Councillor Packer might hold that up. That's our prediction.
Dropping.
And that prediction every time we've asked for something from the government over the years, they've said, oh, but your population.
Yeah, shouldn't grow. Yeah.
And it's not,
Yeah.
and it hasn't continually, and yet they continually trot out that old chestnut.
Yeah.
And it's just completely spurious and it just annoys me. That's my
Would
annoyance.
you like to move out of committee now?
Yeah, I said, yeah, okay. I'll do
And
that.
you're seconding that?
I was just going to ask a question. Just in
No,
relation
so-
to these developments and plannings and so forth, like Red at Woolworths, when suddenly 5 car parks at night become 3. How are we following up on all that?
Well, retardus appears in the car park.
That's off agenda item, but thank you. It's a good point. Councillor Wirtz?
I'd move us to go out of committee or second. it.
Okay.
I think I've done that.
Councillor Hayes, Councillor Wirtz, thank you very much. So who put that? Councillor Thompson, do you want to,
No, said enough.
is it enough? I've lost the word. I'll put the motion.
Can I
No. Oh, yes, you can.
create another motion or just to say, does that do I have to wait?
Councillor Thompson, Councillor Packard, are you happy if there's another point, an amendment or?
Another motion.
What's the motion?
What is it?
To roll over the funds into a 7/12 scheme as opposed to being restricted by the 7/11. Maybe come back.
Is there a second for
Yeah,
that?
I'd rather have that.
Repeal this also.
That comes so that we can have it and
Okay, no, so
Unless-
that's lapsed.
enforce
We'll
it.
go back to the original recommendations. All those in favour? So we've got Thompson, Packard, Larter, Inglis, Hardwick. 4?
Can you abstain?
No, that's,
It's a negative.
it's a negative.
You can, but it is counted as a.
Against, please. Hayes, Wirtz, Sheldon. Thank you. Excellent, guys. Okay, so now we are on to committee, minutes of committee meeting. 12.1 minutes, Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee on the 28th of August, 2024. Can I have a mover? Councillor Larder? Seconder? Councillor Packard? Councillor Larder, do you want to speak to the motion? Anyone speaking to it? I will just say that thank you to Councillor Packard, who's going to take on being the councillor representative on ARIC. And my thanks, because I've been on it for the last, on and off for the last 6 years, to our committee, who are doing an excellent job at the moment. I would like to move the recommendation. All those in favour? Hayes, Councillor Hayes? Unanimous. Okay, 12.2 minutes, First Nation Liaison Committee, the 21st of August, 2024. Would someone, Councillor Thompson moving the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Packard. Any discussion, Councillor Thompson? Any discussion? I'll put the recommendations. All those in favour? Unanimous. 12.3 minutes, Local Traffic Committee, 14th of August, 2024. Have recommended 2 recommendations there. Do I have a mover?
I'll move, but I think in item 8.4, oh no, so item 8.5 probably needs to be a note for special event application because it's already been and done. But that's
Rather than support.
happy to move those.
Councillor Thompson, a seconder. Councillor Hardwick. Okay, I'll put the, would you like to speak to it?
Nothing.
No one. I put those recommendations, all in favour? Waiting for Councillor Sheldon.
I wasn't here, so.
Okay, you're happy. He was out of the room, so unanimous. 12.4 Tumut Aerodrome Committee, 10th of September 2024. One recommendation there. Do I have a mover? Councillor Larder, seconded by Councillor Sheldon. Councillor Larder, do you want to speak to it? No. Councillor, anyone else want to speak to it? No, I put the recommendation. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so now 13 confidential, 13.1 confidential. We'll
Madam Mayor, I would like to actually move that we discuss this in open council and just keep the commercial in confidence information separate, that is not discussed around the table. I think that the report itself has already been aired within the community, and I think it's important that it is openly discussed while remaining confidential in the commercial in confidence information.
do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Packard. I think it would be a good idea if we dealt with the confidential first, and then we can go into open discussion after that. So if we could go into confidential.
I'll move that we go into confidential.
Thank you. Seconded by moving into confidential. Seconded by Councillor Sheldon. Thank you. We'll just stop the recording while we're in confidential. Unanimous? Unanimous, sorry. Unanimous that we go into confidential? Unanimous.